G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's episode 51. Had to get on here and just bathe in the glory of a great victory against the Broncos. Many had written the Dogs off. Look, in my gut, I was seeing so many scenarios where we lose that game, but I did feel we could win, but I didn't think it would happen that way. I don't think anyone could say that they thought we're going to go and smash the Broncos. But I've got Pete on here who's just feeling as happy as I am, and I'm sure you're all feeling the same. How you going, Pete?
Absolutely ecstatic, Mick. What a victory that is. That is one to savour for the rest of my life, to be honest. When I've got to be honest with you, Mick, I didn't see that happening at all. No. I even, because I'm in a big tip comp with my friends, a lot of money involved, and I backed against us. I'm thinking we just can't go up there, get the chocolates up there. They're desperate.
Win-win.
I never back against my team, but it's the first time because I'm in for big money and I'm thinking I don't think we can win up there, you know. And I was just so astounded of how magnificently we played. It was incredible.
Yeah, well, I think there was, look, a lot of, if people weren't on the bus before the game, they're on it now, which always worries me as well. The letdowns and stuff. But what a win, man. Like, I was really disappointed last week because I thought the Cowboys game was the one we could win over it.
Sutton again, Mick. Sutton again. Look, I'm serious. Some of the mistakes and the 50-50 calls, that try for a start with Bailey Hayward changed the whole game, right? Now, if he goes up to the bunker and says it's a try, but that arsehole knew that if he gets it down, it has to be absolute 100% proof. And when you see it slow down, his finger and ring finger are on that freaking ball.
Yeah.
Something, mate. And to be honest, we did make some mistakes and we hurt ourselves, but what they played like, man, they're playing so well. Josh Curran, for me, they were in the paper. I know you guys haven't got the Daily Telegraph up there in the Queensland. Daily Telegraph down here.
Same paper, just
it's rubbish, mate. I know I hate Buzz Rothfield and all them idiots, but I did one thing. They had the top 10 buys of the year. And obviously Stephen Crichton was the big picture. He's the number one buy of the year. And they had Josh Curran at a distant 15th. And they're going, are you kidding? He's number one, in my opinion. Number one, best buy of the year, straight up.
Yeah,
and that's clear as well, you know.
Jason Friskin's jumped on. He's got his bus driver kit on too. He's a bus driver and took some of the sad pricks home after the game.
Hello, Jace. How are you, mate?
How you going, mate? Yeah, mate. Well, and weren't they great scenes after the game, seeing some of the bloody Bulldogs fans in the stadium just going off. Like, they're not used to that sort of made me feel a bit like, you know, when you see English teams when they go into the other team's stadium and they take over, and like there's none of it. It was all just celebration, but it was just
they don't want to kill
each other. We need to see. We need that. The Bulldogs back. The Bulldogs are back. And the silent fans are back. That's the main thing too. The silent majority that have been supporting the club and sticking strong, not saying nothing, just knowing that our turn will come, and they're all come out again. And mate, the amount of Dogs fans at that game yesterday, I'm spewing that I wasn't there.
You weren't at the game because you had something on, didn't you?
I'd committed to work, and then I could have went because I thought it was going to be a night game. Anyway, I could have went, only single seats. I didn't want to go without my daughter, but there's Dogs fans there that you could see had paid just to get a seat. They would have been paying over $200 because they were in the best seating areas amongst. Yep. It was nearly, I'd say 3 in 10 supporters were Bulldogs there yesterday.
Really? You reckon it was that many?
I was getting in some sections. There was at least 3 sections where it was mainly Bulldogs.
Have we got a supporter page up there in Queensland or anything like that where they could actually get together and how they can get that? There was a whole section that had probably 1,000 supporters in that one section. How did that happen, Mick? Who is there someone up there looking after that?
Not really, mate. I think there was a, they've always been a lot of Bulldogs have been a big brand, mate, Australia wide, and I say that a lot of the time. And the fact that I was talking to someone from the Bulldogs today, and he said that I'm not naming names, but coming down in like years ago, when he first sort of started with the club, he couldn't believe it, how many Dogs fans are in Queensland, having been someone from that area, from the Bulldogs area.
Yeah.
And, and just seeing how big it was up here. And that's why they've continued to come here a lot. And, they probably haven't been as accessible to the Queensland fans as they normally are. Like, I think they've cancelled a couple of the meet and greets and stuff, but that is a reflection of how serious they are about not making the 8, not making the 4, about winning the comp.
We want to make the 4, mate. We want to make the top 4.
I want to win the comp, mate.
We want to win the comp. Yeah. I mean,
and they believe they can. They believe they can. That's all that matters. Is that the team actually believes they can. They're not.
You saw Parramatta drop off against the Storm, over the weekend, right? During the game, you could see there was a point in the game where Parramatta were on top, and they were just about ready to put the foot on the throat, and something went wrong. And straight away, as soon as something went wrong, they didn't have the resilience to stay in the fight. And then Storm, what did Storm beat them by? They beat them by like 30 points at the end, right? Whereas the Dogs aren't losing like that. If we do lose, it's like we're still going to that 79th minute with 30 seconds to go. And we only lost to the Storm down there with the last 3 minutes or whatever it was. And then Panthers the same in the fight.
That was the Bulldogs. That was the Bulldogs last year, mate, and for the last 5 years. They went on some runs where they just against sides that were sort of faltered. Like I remember we knocked the Dragons out a couple of years in a row when they were still a big chance of the 8. One round we actually beat them in the final round, cost them the 8. But there's lots of games where we're in the fight and look good for the first 10, 15 minutes. But as soon as something went wrong, as soon as there was a drop ball, as soon as there was a wrong call, we just give it in and
capitulate. It was
that was the Broncos yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah, terrible. Paper thin, mate. Like looked like paper had been dropped in the water. That's how thin they were. Like they just went to putty. And I could talk about it later. I'm sure you want to bring this point up about Reece Walsh, but we'll talk about him later. But I just saw really bad habits in that team. And Kevy has got a lot of issues there, mate. Because he's paying
they're going to make Kevy the scapegoat for it all too. You watched the media have got that little when Selvin Cobbo came out at the start of last year and said that he
can't coach,
he can't coach and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like the media had links with the club itself and all the ex-Broncos and mates within the commentators and the actual ex-players and that all were rooting for Kevy Walters. But there's this, he's been under pressure the whole time since he's been there, and it was never more evident yesterday. And you sent me a message today. You sent me a message today. You nailed it on the head. Seeing us open up those under the 2011 when we were coming back, 2012, 2013, 2014, all the way up. That we used to spread it to the left or the right, and our centers and wingers would get the ball and just make ground from our 20 meter or 30 meter to over there halfway. Yeah. Sometimes they'd, I remember J-Moore's just so many raids, just making ground, just going from edge to edge. There's just so many elements of Bulldogs of old from many eras in that game.
Yeah, as I said to you on that message, I think it was very 12-like yesterday.
Yeah,
and we haven't played like that the whole season. We haven't really chanced our arm. To be honest with you, some of the passes that Burton threw yesterday and people who want to question him as a 5'8" and who hasn't got a brain and he can't pass the ball, he's not a thinker. All right, he's not as good as some of these other guys. I won't say that he is, but some of those passes were so good on the money that got us outside that D defender. So the A, B, C, D, that D defender, because as I said to you, Castoni, Staggs, and Mariner bid in the whole day. And as soon as they bid in, bang, Burton threw a ball like pinpoint over the top and in space with either Sherry or Carraz on the other side. Mate, I've got to be honest with you. All right, I'm going to say this. Listen to your pod last week with Mark. Really like Mark. Love his passion for the game, but he's dead set wrong about Blake Wilson. Blake Wilson is number 4. And I'm looking at that Mazzoni in reserve grade. I'm thinking maybe he might be even better because there's no way Blake Wilson is better as Jarrell Skelton. No way he's better than Ali Carr, and there's no chance he's better than Carraz. He is completely and utterly wrong about that. Blake Wilson is a good player, but he's nowhere near as good as those 4. Nowhere near. And Skelton proved it yesterday. He's an absolute machine, that guy. He's fantastic.
Mark falls in love with players. Yeah, Mark, like all of us, we fall in love with players. The dog father's been in love with Jarrell Skelton before he debuted. As soon as he saw his highlights reel from rugby union, because he doesn't mind the union, the dog father, and he likes old Will Skelton, the big fella. So his cousin Jarrell had been doing some good stuff for the Rebels and that for a long time. So he's still a work in progress, and I'm still surprised that he hasn't been picked up and taken from us.
He's going to go to the Roosters or someone like that. You know what I mean? Like, they'll get him.
Well, they should. That's another thing we've talked a lot about on the podcast. How do the Roosters have a problem? But I don't want to get off track. I want to finalise what I've got to say here. I think what people need to understand is that the Bulldogs are working to a system and an X-Man up system, and Blake Wilson is the next man up. He is after the Fox and Carraz, but he's saying that he is. I'm not sure if they would go with Blake Wilson and the Foxes. They started the year with that.
No.
But they know that they need to have
1 meter reader,
the yardage guy out there, and they need to have the guy that's going to be there for the Hollywood moments and
for the speed. Yep.
But he's also willing to do the work when required, and I saw that at the start of last year. The foundations were being planted a long time ago. I watched all preseason as they showed one photo of Jake Averillo all preseason. They kept it quiet. Everyone thought he was going to be the fullback. They brought in Hayes Perham, talked him up, talked up the left edge completely over the offseason, even though the whole left edge had played in the World Cup and hadn't had a real proper preseason.
Yeah, you're talking about 23 now, right?
23.
Yeah.
But these are the foundations that I'm talking about. And Jake Averillo averaged a line break and a line break assist in each game for about the first 5 or 6 rounds.
Yep.
And included the trials. And he didn't do as much work as Carraz. He didn't do as much work as some of the other players. But when the moment was right, he came in. And I've been watching him this year. They've been doing the exact same thing with him at the Dolphins.
Same thing. Yeah.
The Dolphins have been keeping an eye on what Wayne Bennett's not stupid. If he sees something working, he knows what works and he sticks to it.
Yeah. I know Nathan Feen personally. I know the guy. His son used to play my son's footy team, so I know him very well. That guy he very reminds me of what we've got because I know Jason Taylor very well, and I know that Jason Taylor had his paws all over that play yesterday. Because I used to sit in mathematics with him at school when I was at St. Greg's with him. We used to sit next to each other and we used to talk footy because we're mad footy heads. We played first grade together there in the team. And I would be just his brain for the game, his acumen for rugby league and patterns of play and figuring out defensive deficiencies and weaknesses. I'm telling you. I know he didn't cut it at the first grade level as that top guy, and he made some mistakes, and he admitted that to me at a reunion, and said to me, Pete, I made some mistakes, mate, but I and no one can take away from me for the brain of the guy's the brain of that guy when it comes to the game. He's very clever, and he saw something in video review with Staggs and Mariner and those wingers. And all those years ago, I'll go back to 2012 when the Storm beat us in the grand final. We didn't have a halfback and a 5'8" that could play a plan B. We didn't have. We had Reynolds and Keating, and they weren't smart enough to realise, let's take a little kick in behind them, because all Melbourne did was just come straight in, jam in, and kill Barber and Morris coming out the back.
I'm glad you're talking about that.
Hey?
I'm glad you brought that up, Pete, because that's something I want to elaborate on. And I talked about it in the last podcast, and we saw it firsthand yesterday. And this is another reason, the variation. I've been defending our attack for weeks. People have been saying, "Oh, our attack's bad." I'm like, our attack isn't bad.
So critical, haven't they? Oh my God!
It's all right, because it's natural for most supporters and fans and people to talk about outcomes, because it's what we're fed in the media. I know so many people you can't watch the game. They'll read the stats, watch the highlights, which is only of the tries, and they'll sit there and talk about what happened in that game at length when they didn't even watch it. It's just the way the world's become. And, people can enjoy things how they want to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, when you're sort of watching it and you're learning from it, you're not getting everything right, because we don't always. But the point I want to make is Toby Sexton, when there was a game in 2022, and I said this to Mark last week.
Playing for the Titans?
Playing for the Titans. Tino had just ragdolled Burton the week before. The Dogs fans made a pact that they were going to give it to Tino all game. It was at Bankwest. It sounded like there was 50,000 fans there. There was only 11,000. They were all Bulldogs fans. Tino is a wanker. Yeah. We looked 100-point better side than the Titans, and Toby Sexton got 4 try assists from kicks in that game alone.
He kicked us to death that game. Kicked us to death. It was like death by 1,000 cuts. They made the finals
because they brought him in midway through a season, and brought in his short kicking game. Now, Canterbury, Cameron Serrato,
do you remember his game against the Dragons in that semi-finals? He was best player on the ground.
Yeah. They know he's a good player, mate, and he was in the Canterbury system. He was in the Canterbury system before he went to the Titans. Now,
but he was playing up there in Queensland for Keebra Park or something, or Palm Beach Currumbin. So how is he in the dog system?
They'd signed him up, and then it fell through. Yeah, they signed him up. But the point I want to make is that I was thinking about what is the next stage of evolution in this season, where I was thinking that it was going to be an extra big body on the bench, and then they brought Harry Hayes, who's not small, but he's not huge. But God, he plays bigger than what he is.
Him and Morrow.
Very, very another good find that it's like, how did we drop this guy? But the point I want to make is that last week we saw the evolution of Toby Sexton's short kicking game, which we've hardly seen all season. Yeah. Burton's been doing it all. Yesterday with Toby Sexton, they targeted him all day in attack. They stayed away. They targeted Preston and Sexton side all day. Non-stop. Toby Sexton made 35 or 37 tackles and only missed 3 yesterday.
Yep.
But his pass selection was all brought from the fact that they were worried about his kicking game. They were worried about they know about our out the back and our block plays from side to side. They knew that was coming. But we just found a way through. You saw the pass that led to the try to Preston. He was going to go long, went short. You saw the kick in behind for the beautiful try. You saw the 2 kicks, try assists from kicks last week. That variation is the next piece of the puzzle for our season. Yep. And we just fired a big shot. And teams are going to be in 2 minds with us, I can tell you that now.
He's evolving. He's evolving as a young man who's really been held back in his development, in my opinion, with the Titans up there. Like, how would you even think about putting Tanner Boyd in front of him? Like, he's a poles apart with that guy, as in brain of the game. He's very clever. And the evolution of Toby Sexton coming in is confidence. Like, as you say, you heard a interview with him, and he said, and quote, that he was glad that they held him back for that 10 weeks. And we're calling, screaming, going, why is Hutchison? It was so frustrating because I was critical of a few things, quite critical of Hutchison and his ball playing, not his defense. I was critical of his ball playing because he didn't get that. He doesn't do what Sexton does, as in he does not put that ball in that hand under pressure. And he was like dummying on the fourth and going on his own. And I was a little critical, to be honest. I'll admit it. But now Toby Sexton is the man. Now, he's 22 years old. And now the Bulldogs go, okay, we've got Woods in the background. We've got Joey O'Neill. We've got Bailey Hayward all play that spot. But Toby Sexton, he won't be getting dropped anytime soon for them kids yet. Like, he's playing way too well to even think about. He's playing out of his skin at the moment. Like, I'm so impressed with how he's handling the pressure as well. And kicking game. His kicking game, long kicking game. His long kicking game is not as good as Burton's, but mate, it's pretty right good. It's right up there. He can kick it a mile, man. He kicks it a mile and high. So he gives us time to get down there and make that tackle with the line.
I'll tell you something about the Bulldogs. So the fans were angry about Hutchison being there. Some were like, okay, he must be going all right. And then after they saw, I had this discussion and debate with Mark last week, and I said, because it was in the know that, and he said it himself, he had to work on some things, and Cameron Serrato doubled down on it again.
Yeah.
Drew Hutchison was there to help us to develop confidence the quickest way we could, and that was through our defence. The belief had to come from the defence.
Correct.
And people need to understand that, because I'm telling you, if Toby started the season, he would have missed those. He wouldn't have tackled some of those big forwards on the edge. He would have missed some of them, and we would have conceded points. Now, we might have got some points, but that would have drained his confidence. And see, the Gold Coast had already done that trick. He'd come in the end of 2021 and went and helped them basically make the finals.
Yeah.
They then went all in on him, let Fogarty go, who was also pretty fresh as a halfback, or even though he was older, and they went all in on Toby. And Toby had a couple of good games, but he became the scapegoat for their poor next follow-up season.
Yeah.
And hence was dropped and basically couldn't get his way back in. Now, Canterbury brought him in at the end of last season. They could have done the same thing, but they knew that he had to spend that time in reserve grade. They knew he had to work on his defence. And yesterday we saw the fruits of it, because I've been more impressed by anything is his defence in recent games.
It's been unreal.
There was him and Marnie had a miss last week, but they shouldn't have even had the ball, the Cowboys, because we should have had a set on their goal line after Curran was hitting the head. But
Hayward or Curran?
No, Curran was hitting the head and dropped the ball, and then Dearden goes through the next set.
Right, yeah. Can't remember that bit.
Yeah, that was one of the big calls that if it went our way, we only need one or two of those calls to go our way.
I know.
And we get the result. But maybe in hindsight, that sort of setback helped produce the performance we saw yesterday as well. So we just got to keep looking forward, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to get to the point is that Toby Sexton, the way they've managed this kid, apparently he wasn't talking in defence, his communication, and that's what's changed amongst the entire club. Everybody's talking out there. Everybody's communicating out there, and that's the system. And the good teams have a system. That's why Melbourne Storm, who even stupid people like myself go, they can't win. They don't look like they're playing well. We've out half their spine for the most of that season, with a forward pack that's nowhere near as good as what it used to be.
That's right.
Well clear on top of the ladder. Yeah. And about to play.
Nelson wasn't playing well, and he's normally the catalyst for all their go forward. He wasn't playing that well.
It's the system. Bits and
pieces players, a system. Perfect.
And Melbourne Storm don't win anything in reserve grade. They don't win. And you know why? Because they develop.
They're going first.
Well, I suppose, but that's a recent affiliation, and it's a different one because it's a club, it's its own club and own proud brand, so there's more behind that one.
About having a reserve grade and having that Storm brand, as in when you see the Bulldogs play, all the reserve graders are out there. They're all celebrating with their mates here in the first grade. It's a really united club at the moment. You can see that through
the fact that they develop NRL players for their system, and they go there and play their system, and that's why you see a lot of Storm players and stuff when they leave that club. They're rarely successful because
very rarely
they go into another system and their job doesn't work the same way.
I was having a conversation yesterday about how good Wishart, who's a local junior down here, his dad's from Gerringong, Rod. And,
Rod Wishart, I know Rod Wishart.
And we were talking about Wishart, Tyron going. So, he's going to be hot property now. He's going to be like Nico Hines was a couple of years ago. And there's going to be a lot of clubs sniffing around trying to get him. And to be honest with you, most of the blokes like him, they go to other clubs, they're not as successful as they were at the Storm because it's a system like you're talking about. He'll go to another club, maybe a little bit of a weaker club, and he just won't be able to do the same things he's doing in that Melbourne team, which he's all effort. He's an effort player, Tyron Wishart. He's there backing up all the time. He's a great defender.
He'd fit into the Bulldogs and he'd fit into the Panthers. He'd fit into a Wayne Bennett side.
He would.
He's not going to fit in anywhere else.
He's not going to fit in most of the places.
I think Craig
Parramatta or something like that.
They'll go for him.
I think Riles is going to try and get that Melbourne Storm type of system going at Parramatta.
Oh, he will.
He's going to weed out all those guys like like Serraldo weeded out the Dogs last year. Riles is already starting to do that now. Anyone who's not going to fit the Storm mold, they're gone. He'll wash them out. Get out. I don't need you here. I don't want you if you're not going to train hard. If you think you're above the team. And look what Benji's trying to do at Tigers with Bateman pissing him back off to England because they had a blow up.
Yeah, well, maybe they might have. Hey? They might have. It is media. Look, the media, it disgusts me the way they treat Benji Marshall, someone who worked for him. But
it's pretty well known that, and we got Galvin. James Galvin's a friend of mine from Campbelltown as well, and his son Lockie. And I was with a mate who ran into James, and he said at the club, the young guys, Benji's treating the young guys really well because they're actually doing the job for him. It's the experienced, old, harder-headed players like Bateman, Clemmer. They're not playing well enough, mate. So he's actually getting a rocket up and putting them on notice, and that's the reason why Bateman's pissed off, right? He's gone in.
Things will change next year for the Tigers, mate. Things will change. Jerome Luai coming into that club with Taruva into that back line.
Yeah.
They will. We'll see those Fainu brothers and all that really take off.
They need the power of the pack to keep going, mate. You can have all the backs in the world. If you haven't got your pack on, you forget it.
But those kids will learn from that. They just need to get the right player. They've got Appy Chorus out there. They need one good forward, and winning will start happening at that club because I look at how easily they can score tries. The issue is how easily they let them in, which is the problem.
That's right. They got no resilience at all, have they?
But getting back to Tyrone Wishart, he's the type of player that, Nico Hines, I think it was really smart of Craig Fitzgibbon to say, you're going to be our halfback.
Yeah.
And just because he still hadn't everyone thought he'd be coming to their club as a fullback. And he made him a halfback. But Nico Hines has a big history as being a really talented junior that a lot of clubs wanted and were chasing. Like Ryan Pappenhausen, no one wanted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He come from the clouds, he come from nowhere. And
Tigers got rid of Ryan Pappenhausen. He's a Tigers junior, and they didn't want him.
They could win 7 comps with the discards they've got, mate.
Oh my God! If they could pick the team that they've let go, it's Addo Carr, Ryan Pappenhausen, Tedesco, Brooks, Moses. It's a litany of great players they've let go over the years, and they've made some terrible errors.
I feel sorry for them. Pete, I'm just going to read through some of these comments from the fans and that. So, Mike Cool said, "G'day, boys. What a game." Jason says he drives from Mount Gravatt buses and was picking them up on the busway. Ed, welcome back to the podcast, mate. So glad you come on again. He's one of these silent fans. He's currently living and working abroad, but he's coming to Sydney in August. He's got his tickets for the Dragons game on Saturday week. Good on you, mate. Dragons just got pumped at home today.
I was trying to get tickets for that game because my kids play footy and I couldn't get tickets.
Yeah, Dragons fans know how important that game is.
Ridiculous at Cogra.
Jason said he watched the replay this morning. It was a joy to watch that style of footy. I've seen us in the 80s glory days, and this is right up there. Mike Cool, he's also a silent fan, been to a lot of the games in Sydney for the last 15 years since he was a small kid, and I always support them, win or lose. Yeah, I'm watching it every couple of hours, he says. I've watched it a few times.
How many times have you watched it? Have you watched the full game?
Watching the Olympic relay. Jason said, "How good is it to have a captain that is 200% on with the coach's game plan instead of crying because it's too tough?" Yeah, I'm talking about you, RFM. I think RFM was just trying to represent people coming up to him. He had no experience. I think he'll learn from it. But I also know he got a little bit. I think he was a little bit immature about some things and went yapping about how unhappy he was, and then
you think maybe the Polynesian
people he spoke to weren't happy either, and then they started yapping to everyone, and then it all got back to the club. So that's what happened.
Do you think the Polynesian influence there with Pangai and Pele and blokes like that, and they were not happy about how things were going inside those four walls? Do you think was there a little sect, do you reckon, that maybe and the Tapine incident and a few other things happening? They didn't like the training regime. They didn't like the contact, supposedly, because surrounding there's a lot of contact.
I think it comes down to a fact that the club parts of our club had forgotten what it was built off and what it was, and that sort of infiltrated these people that had come through as the juniors and celebrated as local juniors, celebrated as the next big things, getting into first grade way too early, things coming too easily as far as getting to the NRL, in my opinion. Not saying their journey was easy at all, because you've got to be a competitive, tough person. And I'm not, even if, to even make it that far. Yeah. But I think Raymond was caught in between two worlds. I don't think it's so much. We've got to be careful, because I think the media use those words, Pete, Polynesian and stuff. I don't think it had anything to do with it. I just think there were people.
I'm not talking about the media there. I know that. I heard in rumour. And, I've got a few good ears to the ground. One in particular who's very tight with the people on the board and has got me into governors' lounges and stuff like that. And he's got his ear very close, and he does hear a lot of stuff. So I've got another little thing that he sent me this week, and he told me that look, the place is busted. The boys are busted. We're carrying so many players with injuries, with nasty niggles, not the little niggles, the nasty niggles. And for them to go out and do what they did yesterday, the Broncos, and that message sent through to me during the week saying how many players are really, really busted at the moment. It just makes you so proud, and your heart filled with joy, because they're not 100%. They're not playing with the 100% body. And I think to myself, I didn't see it coming. To be honest, I did not see that performance coming at all. So I'm ecstatic. I couldn't believe it.
Sam says, I've lost some weight, big fella, looking good up the Doggies. Nah, mate, it's just the hat, bro. I've been putting on weight. I need to get out there and walk. I just actually got myself some new shoes. So I went and got my feet properly tested and done. I've been wearing the wrong shoes, changed shoes, and I want to walk. Anyway, sometimes you just need an excuse. Michael, if Hayward got that try, would have been equal points to the Sharks. Mate, there's been plenty of those moments, some our own doing, some the refs. For me, we had 2 wins against the Warriors and Sharks, which I felt the better teams lost on the day.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and we got the 50-50s in that match, and that got us the game. We didn't get every call, obviously, but sometimes you just got to look at it and go, and we win some, we lose some, but it's hard to. I talk about Ryan Sutton. I'm sorry about Jared Sutton, and we could go on about him all day.
Yeah, I know. We're going to drop Sutton, but they did beat themselves a little bit. Those 2 teams that we beat, they had more than enough opportunity to score and to score points, and I believe the Bulldogs just stuck in the fight. Really played really resilient footy, and to be honest with you, they should have beaten us. They beat themselves, Sharks and the Warriors, especially the Warriors. The Warriors should have won, mate. That was.
Well, that's the whole thing, though. The Warriors lost their whole back 3.
Yeah, we robbed
that
game.
No one on the bench. Like the fact that they were even in that game, their whole season was on the line, and they played like it. And they, and we got that favourable call at the end. I don't think that I've already said enough about this, but Jamin Salmon being suspended was absolute rubbish. Even though, if he was penalised, I would have been like, "Yep, it was slightly late."
Yeah.
But as I said, it's in the pressure part of the game. In high pressure games, it mean a lot, and that's every game for Canterbury and the teams they play since we played the Dragons game. It's been semi-final football for us and most of the teams that we've played. To be fair, because it's that condensed and close. When it's that close and tight and that much pressure, the referee does put the whistle away, and that's what the commentators say they want. But as soon as it's a certain moment or it's in golden point, they then say to us, "Oh, we suddenly don't want this. We suddenly want."
I'm just looking at it now, Mick. Look how condensed it is. It is really condensed. Like, I know. Do you think Broncos and Warriors are done now?
Well, I was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is how much you can tell me. But 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was telling everyone that they were both going to make the 8. And
the Warriors are on 21, the Broncos 20, and the 8 is the Dolphins playing today. They're on 24. Realistically, they have to win every game and win well. But yeah, I mean, I'm penciling the Broncos and the Warriors out. They're done. I'm penciling the Knights out as well.
Look, I'll tell you what, the Broncos,
huge game for us next week against the Raiders, massive. Because if they win, they'll get confidence out of it too.
Well, that game's about to start in 5 minutes. The Titans did us a huge favour coming home to beat the Dolphins 21 points to 14. Go the fucking Titans.
Go the Titans, baby. Yes.
We also had the Panthers smash the Dragons. I was glad the Roosters beat the Seagulls after Cowboys had beaten the Sharks. I think, the way I think Cowboys are going to be our biggest danger for getting a top 4 spot. Outside of the Sharks, because the Sharks have a great run home.
At least we get to play them down here, though, Mick. At least we get to play them at home. Well, and they're not a great travelling team. They've never been a great travelling team. The Cowboys, fantastic at home normally, but they've never been a fantastic travelling team. So let's hope that they bring one of their worst performances down when they come and play us down here.
Well, let's look at this ladder here, and you can see that was huge for the Dolphins to lose that match. And the
massive
Titans can technically still make the – technically, meaning mathematically, can still make the 8.
Yeah.
And I did a ladder predictor last night, which had 8th place with 3 teams on 28 points. which, all the commentators are saying you got to get 32 to get in there now. And
Oh, you're in
I don't
32?
believe that's the case.
Wow.
I think Manly will make it. I think the
Manly
Cowboys
will
will
be
make
there. Manly will make
it.
it, yeah, for
Sharks
sure.
will make it. I think the Bulldogs, you'd have to say, we're a big chance now of making it. We can dare to dream on that. What's in the Broncos' favour and the Warriors' favour?
Yep.
Is they're for and against. Because teams like the Raiders, Knights, and the Raiders and the Knights are gone. I'm ruling them out.
Yeah, Knights are gone. Minus 97. Raiders minus 91. And Dragons
can't make
56.
it. I think the Raiders will beat Souths tonight, though, and keep their head above water.
Yeah, we'll see.
And while that's there, they are a gritty, tough team, man, with a big forward pack. Yeah, if they maintain possession, they are hard to beat anywhere. But I have this habit of talking up everyone we've got to play, which is one of my things.
It's like this in the old days when Gus Gold used to like go on and on about how good Queensland was. Jeez, it used to piss me off. But in Gus we trust. We love Gussie. He's doing what a job he's done for our club.
So let's go through the ladder predictor, eh? Let's have a look at that. I'm predicting the Raiders to beat the Rabbitohs today. I hope the Rabbitohs win. Although we've no Latrell, they can't make the final. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
22. Cowboys will at Leichhardt. Tigers have. You can't rule the Tigers out, but Cowboys by 12 is fair enough. I think the Warriors at home get the Eels, but the Eels are gonna beat some teams on the way home. I think
they might help us out.
Hopefully,
the more teams they knock out. I'd love to see the Eels and the Tigers come up with some upsets and beat some of these top, better ranked teams. What's the Parramatta? Do they play the Sharks?
Para play the Warriors. Can you see that on the screen?
Not really. It's a bit small.
All right, I'll explain what I'm showing. So we've got Tigers and Cowboys. I'm tipping the Cowboys. Warriors at home versus the Eels. Dolphins versus Roosters at Redcliffe. So I'm tipping the Roosters there. Yeah. Titans versus Broncos at Seabus Super Stadium. Now, look, I'm going to tip the Broncos, but the Titans just did us a big favour, and they might have some belief because they have been improving. Storm will beat the Dragons at Amy Park next week.
Oh, they'll pump them. They will pump them.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because then we've got to get playing at Cogra the week after.
Yeah.
Sharks versus Rabbitohs. You got to tip the Sharks in this.
But I'd like to see the Rabbitohs. They play desperate and try and get over the top. Win today against Canberra, and then they're feeling confident and go, okay, we need to beat the Sharks.
Well, that's how it's got to be. If they lose to Canberra today, the Rabbits are gone. Yeah, and I don't think they'll be able to stay in the fight for 80 minutes against the Sharks at Shark Park. Panthers, so winning creates winning, as they say. Panthers will beat the Knights, and we've got to beat the Raiders by how many points? Let's say 12 points at Belmore. Manly get the bye, which is good for them. We go to round, that leaves us into round 23. Storm, Panthers, Roosters. Now, there is an issue with teams that haven't had the bye. They don't count their points in this ladder predictor. It's been an issue all season on the NRL website.
Yeah.
And you got to reset your ladder and stuff. So you've got to be careful with what you're looking at. Storm will beat the Rabbitohs. Titans versus the Sharks. So yet again, if the Titans are on a roll and beat the Broncos after beating the Dolphins today, then play at home again against the Sharks, they could be a bogey team for teams.
100%. 100%. Like, I can't stand obviously what he done to our club, but he has got a bit of magic dust about him. He can get his team up. And look what they've done today. That's a massive victory against the Dolphins. That's huge.
I never blame Des on his own. I blame
Ryan Castle mostly.
Everyone involved in it. But that's what happens, man. Eels have got an upset in them. I don't think it's going to come against the Panthers on Friday, the 9th of August. Then you got Raiders at home to the Seagulls. Now, if we've just pumped the Raiders, they're still in 9th position.
Yeah.
Versus Seagulls, that's a give or take game. Who do you think's going to win that game? I'll let you pick this one.
Okay. So Raiders and Seagulls.
Round 23 at GIO Stadium in Canberra.
I've got to go Manly on that one. I'll go Manly on that one.
All right. Queensland Country Bank Stadium, Townsville, Cowboys versus Broncos.
Broncos cause an upset and help us out. And
you think? Well, if they're still in the running, I reckon they might.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think after this week, Kevy's gonna have to go and do some. He's got assistant coaches, Cartwright, and a few others. They're going to have to get to that brains trust together and go, we're going to work some shit out. What's going on? Because they were awful yesterday. Their defence was paper thin. And I was going to talk to you about Reece Walsh a bit later on, but after this, I'll make my
position.
I'll give you my reason about what Reece Walsh is all about. Hey?
Wasn't there when we were scoring most of our tries. Nowhere to be found.
No. Exactly.
We're going to beat the Dragons at Cogra in an absolute tough match. I'm just leaving it at the margin as 12 points in these games.
Do you reckon that'll be a bloodbath, that game?
Yeah.
The Dogs Dragons at Cogra, that's going to be a bloodbath.
Well, they were
2 o'clock too, so hopefully
they're going to come off the back of 2 big losses, the Dragons, in my opinion, and they're going to be at home in front of their Cogra fans.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if there's no bloody crowd violence and the media get to start on the Bulldogs.
I was at the game years ago when Idris got called back. I was with my mates. There was 7 Bulldogs and about 6 or 7 Dragons. We were all together, about 13 of us, and we were standing right in front of that freaking gate. And there was helicopters going everywhere, mate. I'm telling you that was like a soccer crowd. There was people ready to kill. It was like it was really, you could smell the violence.
I watched that game. I watched it on the TV.
Us 13 blokes, we're all pretty big guys. We all play footy together, and none of us, like I said, everyone, you got to watch each other's back, because we had to walk up to the railway station, and there was a pub across the road. We thought, you know what? I'm not going to stand on that train station and wait for a train. How about we just go in the pub and get out of this violence, right? Because you could smell it was happening. Yep. And then you could hear the helicopters coming in, and the cops, the riot squad cops had to get called in. Mate, I'm telling you, the Bulldogs crowd went berserk. It was vicious.
Well, as they should have, though. You can imagine why. I watched that game. I watched that game on the TV, and the Dragons dominated it, to be fair. And Gus Gold kept saying all through it, the Bulldogs are playing a typical Bulldogs performance tonight. They're not going to go away, and Dragons can't put them away. And then their comeback started.
Yeah.
And it started, and then we got them at the end with a fair, legitimate, brilliant try that I think we would have won a premiership earlier. That loss, that scarred our club, man. We couldn't beat St George after that game either for ages. For the next couple of, for the next 3 or 4 games.
The 7
it scarred us, that loss.
We're fucking blowing up deluxe. You got no idea how pissed off the support base was. It was vicious, mate. It was unbelievable.
My missus nearly divorced me that night. I was losing it.
I think my wife wants to divorce me every week, but even when we're winning, she wants to divorce me. She said you're just an absolute maniac. And then I've seen someone. I sent you a picture of a bloke today, and I think finally I've met someone who's crazier than me when it comes to this club.
Wasn't that a good video? I might show that for the fans in a minute.
Mick,
all right, let's get back here.
On that guy.
We got to get back on track. So Dolphins at Suncorp Stadium versus the Warriors. If the Warriors are in the hunt.
The Fins on that one.
You on the Fins? Knights versus Tigers at Newcastle.
Massive upset, Tigers, mate.
Oh.
That's my
Well, that's good. I'm glad we're both picking because that's probably going to get closer to the truth if we disagree as well. Panthers at home to the Storm.
Oh, I'm going to say that Munster's back and he's fully fit, and he's going to have a day out that day. So I'm going Storm at home, in a big upset at home, and that'll be a statement to the comp going.
Well, that's a Penrith.
They're going to beat them at Penrith. Yep, I'm saying it.
All right.
What do you think?
I've got Panthers penciled in for that.
Yeah, we'll put Panthers on because I'm just saying.
They've come back to the pack, the Panthers. They've come back to the pack. They're still in front. They've got some special players. Brian Toto and Liam Martin and that. They're special players, but they're not as seasoned and tough as they were. They're still very good. Their system works.
In the backs, mate, like they got that young McLean and stuff like that coming through, and they need time to blood. They can't just like say this week's going to be all right. He had played well, but mate, when they play against top line opposition down there against Melbourne, that's when they're going to get shown up. When they play really hard opposition, those kids. We'll see what happens.
If Melbourne goes 6 points ahead, that means the last round they might. If they've got the minor premiership showing up, they've got to play the Broncos in the last round. They might
rest everybody.
Rest everyone. Seagulls versus Warriors. I'm going to tip the Seagulls at home at Brookvale. Roosters to beat the Eels. Now we've got to go to Bundaberg and play the Dolphins again. We're going to beat them.
We have.
Tavita, Avarillo, Jeremy Marshall-King won't be playing, which is good. But
yeah, that could be for the top four, that one. That could hopefully Sharks get a couple of upsets and we've gone on a bit of a run, like stuck to our run. And that one could be the catalyst for us to get a top four spot.
100%. Cowboys to beat the Raiders.
Like Melbourne in Melbourne. Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Cowboys to beat the Raiders. Who's going to win out of Tigers and Souths?
South.
Dragons versus Titans at Wynn Stadium where they have a better record.
God, they were awful today, the Dragons. Holy shit, they were bad.
I think they'll turn up for that.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Sharks versus Knights at Shark Stadium.
Why the Sharks have got the easiest draw I've ever seen in history.
For the last 4 years.
Fucking hell. They played no one. Mate, and they've played no one. They have that middle section of the comp where they went really well. But then the backside, this is who does this draw? Seriously.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Tigers versus Eagles at Leichhardt. We're in round 25. And the Bulldogs are sitting fifth, equal with the Roosters, 2 points behind the Sharks.
Tigers can't win that.
Manly. After we're at Bundaberg, we've got to travel across 6 days later. We play the Warriors. Now, I'm not sure if the Bulldogs are actually going to fly straight to New Zealand and do the holiday again, or if they're going to go back to Sydney and fly there the day before. I think they might do that this time because they did it versus the Broncos. I thought they were going to stay in Queensland for it, but it's like, we're going home. We're locking down the doors. I think there's going to be a lot less access to the Bulldogs moving forward. They're serious.
Yeah, I listened to a Triple M interview with Cam Serraldo on the Listener app, and he was saying on the way home when they came in got on the plane to come home from the Broncos game. He said the plane was electric with Bulldogs supporters and the players, and just how our supporters are warming to our team and how much they're loving the efforts of. He said it was unbelievable how that trip home with the boys. Yep. I said just the vibe of the place at the moment. How could you not be proud of how, mate? Oh, it's unreal.
I've shed a few tears this year, and it's weird. But are we going to beat the Warriors at Go Media Stadium? At this point, I've only got them on 23 points. The Warriors.
Jeez,
They could actually be on 20. Yeah, they're on 23 points. They get the bye in the last round.
They're sort of my second favourite team, the Wars. Just I shouldn't support New Zealand, but I just like them. They're a tough team. It really depends on who they got. If they got a full deck of cards, like Sean Johnson and the 5'8", what's his name, don't work. So one of them has to play. Eh?
Tiari Martin or Harris DeVito.
Tamari Martin and Sean Johnson don't work. Maybe this might be the last hurrah for Sean Johnson this season. If he comes back and Tamari Martin and him play together, we'll win that game. If Tamari Martin runs a show or Sean Johnson runs a show on their own, we could possibly go down. But their forwards have got to go real good against us that day.
Right, you pick it. Who's winning that game?
Oh, I can't pick that one, mate. You have to pick that one. I love my team too much to pick against them.
Well, I'm picking the road for us to make the top four. That's going to be very important if we're going to make the top four. We have to win that game. In every game, pretty much. We pretty much have to win every game to make the top four.
Yeah, we do, eh? Yep, 100%.
With the way the Sharks and Roosters have got, and the squads they've got, and also Sea Eagles are going to be there and about. So Broncos versus Eels. I think the Broncos are still in with a shot here. They've won the last. I think they're going to win this and be a chance at the 8 still.
Yep.
Moves them into 8 spot.
I agree with that one.
Moves them into 8 spot.
Raiders and Penny Panthers. Panthers will win that one.
Storm versus Dolphins at Storm Park.
Ooh. Got to be Storm, don't you think? Yeah, it's got to be Storm.
Rabbitohs Knights.
Very hard to pick that one too.
And Latrell Mitchell might be back for that game, but I reckon that they'll rest him.
Where the Rabbitohs are at that time of the season will tell where they are in that mindset, going for blood against the Knights there. Like if they're still on the hunt, mate, they're going to be hungry.
Yeah, I just think the Knights need more time to develop that left edge combination with Carlin Ponga. So he needs to play.
Young Price and that.
Yeah.
Well,
see, he had Fitzgibbon there last year, and he made
exactly what I was about to say. Fitzgibbon.
He makes a huge amount of difference when you've got that. It was like Thurston and the other bloke he used to play with when you got that.
The second rower. What was his name?
Yeah.
Cooper,
yeah.
Yeah, but
he's got that combination.
Yeah,
it just works.
I reckon
a lot of people don't get it.
They listened to that Cowboys run of that great the 15 and a couple of years before that and a couple of years after when Thurston and Cooper were just doing some crazy good stuff. The Knights almost got the blueprint from that because every time you could see what Fitzgibbon used to do. He used to run in, he used to turn his whole body, and he used to just do a little pop up in the air, and then Carlin Ponga would come steaming through that hole. He wasn't trying to get tackled or he wasn't trying to break the line, Cooper. No. Fitzgibbon. All he was doing was putting his ass right in that defender's face and just popping it up, and it worked so well for him in that 10-game run last year. And they scored so many tries with Kalen just coming through, pouring through the hole.
But when he did run, it'd work because they'd be hanging off him. They'd be rushing up, and then they'd leave him out and go out the back. It just created so many options. Roosters versus Titans.
Roosters. I can't see Roosters unless they're playing a really hard team losing a game for the rest of the year.
Dragons at home to the Sharks.
Dragons, is it Titans? Dragons, Sharks. God, you'd love to see Dragons be able to spring an upset on that one, wouldn't you? God, that'd be so good. Wow.
For us to get top 4, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we can't win the comp if you don't get top 4. It's so hard.
Well, it's harder. But
who can you see? Can you see anyone being able to do that? Out of the teams that are battling at the moment, and they got the top, say your top three, you got your Roosters, so you got your Storm, Panthers, Roosters, and then you got the teams that are battling, and you got the Sharks there pretty close. But can you see any one of those teams being able to battle to maybe spring upsets and beat these top ranked three teams?
The only team the team that, if you look at their squads, or Manly with Tom Trbojevic and the balance of their side, Sharks with the balance of their side, Cowboys with the amount of stars and balance in their team, and the Dragons squad's so much better than it gets credit for. And then you look at the Broncos as well as another team you wouldn't want to play in the finals if they get it right.
Yeah, I'd hate to play
the way teams are playing. Canterbury, to me, are the only side who could challenge those sides, the way that they're playing.
Just the defence.
For 80 minutes.
Yeah.
The stat that comes up every year, Scott Woodward, the analyst, who's Gus's right-hand man, he's the reason we got Jacob Preston and a few others.
Is he?
He was the one who picked the squad for Madge Maguire and said, these are the players you need to select from.
Yep.
These are the ones you need to contact.
Are you talking about for New South Wales this year?
Yeah.
Is that New South Wales this year? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this is the guy behind the selections.
So what's his name, Nick?
Scott Woodward. He's a big fan of the Bulldogs.
I've never heard of him before.
He's called the analyst. He's on the SEN. He gets on Jimmy Smith's show at 2 p.m. on one of the days. But he's actually Gus Gould's. He's the one. Basically, he's an analyst, and he analyzes all these different stats. Not how many runs they make or how many tackles they make, but how many supports they do, how much distance they cover, all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And then they utilise this to pick the players which suit a system of rugby league, right?
Okay.
So, and now I've lost my train of thought, but
yeah, no, I've never heard of Scott Woodward before, Mick. That's new.
I don't know why I mentioned it. I've just had a blank.
Because I know Jimmy Smith and Jason Taylor are in that team at St. Greg's as well. So, I know Jimmy well.
Yeah, you listen to his radio. He has him on.
No, I don't get on to SEN, to be honest. I don't listen to the radio. I listen to podcasts like yourself and that. I don't get on the radio anymore.
They've got a podcast too, so you can listen to different elements of their show and stuff.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, it's typical talkback radio and a lot of.
So this guy is like a bit of a. Would you call him like a Frank Panisi type figure? Like as in
a little bit, but he gives the recruiters and he gives Gus and the coaches the information on the players that stand out based on certain things.
Okay.
But this is what I was talking about. He comes out every year and he said last year, he goes, there's only two teams that can win the comp at this stage of the competition.
Yeah.
It's Penrith or Brisbane.
Yeah.
Penrith will win because no team that's conceded 10 or 11 points per game has lost the comp.
Yeah.
Like he just has all these statistics that back everything up that he says, sort of thing. It's funny because Buzz Rothfield went and carried on about if this guy's picking these players, like he should be kept away from the New South Wales camp and stuff, was attacking Scott Woodward as another way to attack Gus Gould, who employs Scott to do stuff. It's just
there's pure hatred down there, pure hatred between those two, isn't there? He'll anytime he can, he will just stick the knife straight in the field goal. Just hates him, doesn't he? Like hates him with a passion.
Anyway, let's get. I keep getting off bloody track, but let's get through these last two rounds and see what our ladder says. Cowboys versus the Storm.
Oh,
Storm
you can pick this round. You pick this round.
I'm tipping the Cowboys in an upset just to make things interesting.
That's a big
Bulldogs versus Eagles at Suncorp Stadium.
God, that's a
we
massive
remain undefeated.
Wow.
6 p.m. Panthers versus Rabbitohs. Panthers.
Yeah.
Eels versus Dragons. Does the Eels at Combank on a Saturday throw the ball around and drive the Dragons nuts?
Yeah.
I think they might.
Yeah.
Dolphins in the Battle of Brisbane with the Broncos at Suncorp, 5:30 on a Saturday.
The Bronx on that one.
Back in the 8, the Broncos go.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared of them being the 8. Yep.
Sharks versus the Warriors
Ooh.
at Shark Park. Top 4 on the line.
You'll say the Warriors are out right by that time. So are they going to play like busted asses and just roll over? So Sharks probably on that one. Sharks.
Knights versus the Titans at McDonald Jones. I'm going to go to the Knights.
No faith in the Knights.
I know, but I think they'll beat the Titans that day.
Yeah, okay.
But when they lose to our second-rate, our team without our stars at home on Old Fellas Day, 32-0 or something, you can't have faith in them. No, Roosters will beat the Raiders at Allianz.
Yeah, they will, yeah.
Last round. Broncos trying to make the 8 versus the Storm, who have sewn up the minor premiership.
Yeah, they're resting all their big guns. There are no deck of cards in that game. Bronx for me.
Broncos probably make the 8 then, with their for and against.
Yep.
Tigers versus Eels for the Battle of the Wooden Spoon.
Ooh.
At Campbelltown.
Oh, Arana Park, where I used to play. God, that's a good one. That's a good one, mate.
Go the Tigers.
I'd love to see the Tigers win. Wouldn't that be unreal?
It would be.
Wouldn't that be unreal? My Parramatta mates at the moment, they are losing their mind. They are dead set losing their mind.
And we love it.
And I just love every minute of it.
Roosters
against South. That's the Roosters win.
Dragons versus Raiders. Dragons can make the 8, or they probably can't because of for and against.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe they don't play well against Canberra. Canberra normally beats them.
We'll go Canberra in an upset. Bulldogs at home to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
we're going to put it writing on the wall by 24 points.
Yeah, we're to win that.
Panthers to beat the Titans.
Although
they're going to rest all their players.
Oh, yeah.
Still not make the 8.
Well, remember last year they played like busted asses in the second last round, and Cleary told them, "Fuck off, you blokes. You can all play." And remember they went out and they belted the team in the last round.
I think they might need to play them just to get those young guys another game of rugby league.
Maybe.
The Eagles at home to the Sharks to do us a big favour at Brookie.
Yeah.
Hopefully doing us a big favour.
Yeah.
And Knights versus Dolphins.
Fins.
Dolphins out of contention.
Fins.
Do very well in their second season. This ladder, I've got to add 2 points to a couple of teams. So the Roosters would actually finish on 40 points. The Bulldogs finish on 38. The Sharks 36 in 5th spot. Seagulls actually finish on 35 in 6th. Sorry, Sharks are in 5th.
Yeah.
Cowboys will be on 34. And the Broncos are on
32.
13. Broncos 32. So maybe they do need to be 32 points. So 26 plus 6 will be 32.
Jeez, that'd be the Finns would be blowing up, wouldn't they? You'd think that they're a chance to make the semis at this stage, but we haven't really given them. Wow.
Then we play the Storm in round 1 at Amy Park.
Yeah.
Sharks play the Broncos at Shark Park. Broncos run comes to an end. Seagulls play the Cowboys at Brookie, and the Panthers demolish the Roosters. Week 2, Storm versus Sharks. Roosters beat the Seagulls. Then we beat the Roosters, and we play the Panthers in the grand final to keep the history going, because the last three-peat side to win to the last three-peat side was the Parramatta Eels, and finished in 1983. In 1984, they played the Bulldogs, and we beat them.
And Serraldo said it today. I'm a very superstitious man, and they brought up the fours.
Bulldogs versus Panthers in the grand final.
So they came up with that today, and he talked about it. I said, I'm a little bit superstitious. That'd be good. Geez, I tell you
Bulldogs conceding only, I don't have the points on there, but wow, man. That was a bit of an exercise, but we got there. And you can't be putting a knife through the Broncos. Look, if they go out and play like the way they did against the Bulldogs and don't adjust, teams are going to work out what to do. But they've got a draw and circumstances which are going to fall in their favour, I think, and there's still a chance. Lose another game, put a pencil through them.
I just wanted to give you my summation about Reece Walsh, right? And I've seen the bad habits, and they started last year. I'm not saying how he's got the fast switch, so he's quick as he's got ball skills, his kicking game, he's smart, he's everything, but it's his effort areas that really bring him down as a player, in my opinion. And I said to my son, so my son plays fullback in his team. I said, who do you want to base your game after playing that position? I think you should base, because you're not that fast. You're not like Reece Walsh fast. You should base your game on someone like Gutherson. You're not to Dill Edwards' standard yet, but you can base your effort, plays, keep always chasing the ball. I've seen what Gutherson, one time I watched him, he made a tackle on one side of the field, was inside that play, and then you see him sprint like mad. He's not fast, but he sprinted all the way to the other side of the field, and he made a tackle on the winger to save another try. Yeah. And that's the effort areas of Gutherson and play places like that. I don't see that with Reece Walsh. And Reece Walsh likes, do you know the word called ghosting? Have you ever heard ghosting, the term for fullbacks?
What's that?
Have you ever heard the term ghosting? So what ghosting is in a defensive line. So when your defensive line's all set and you're near the line, right, you put the fullback in the line, so it makes it look like you've got more defenders there, right?
Yeah.
It's called ghosting. So that's what, and that's what NRL, the top guys in the NRL are calling it. So what it is it gives the halfbacks and 5'8" who are the ball players thinking, oh shit, they're stuck there, so we're not going to go that way. So what he does is Reece Walsh goes in and ghosts all the time and sets himself on an edge. And, mate, Reed Marnie worked him out like a book yesterday. It was Reed Marnie who worked out where Walsh was and gave it to Toby, who kicked that little kick in behind him and where Tracy scored. And that was Reed Marnie. Seeing where Walsh is in the line, going, that idiot's there on my left side. Why am I going to go to Burton? I'm going to go to Sexton. And Sexton, beautiful play, like what he did was little kick in, getting that right. And he ghosts all the time, Walsh. He should be in behind. And wherever the ball goes, he should be in there and chasing that and making that tackle. He's lazy, mate. He's very lazy. I believe he's very lazy. And
I think also
I thought Slater would have tried to bash those bad habits out of him by playing Origin, saying, this is what I need you to do. You need to be more like me. You need to be more like Dylan Edwards. You need to be more like these top Tedesco is, and put your fitness number one. He always seems like he's blowing. Have you ever noticed that? Whenever you see him do something, he's always trying to get his air in his lungs, and like he's about ready to die. Like
he wears his heart on his. He wastes a lot of emotional energy. That guy, and he's still very, very young. I think he's still a threat, mate. Like he scored that try against us.
Not saying that that's not. But saying that, I'm talking about his effort areas. He's just like
I get that. Dylan Edwards, he wasn't the same type of player, wasn't as brilliant, and he's always based it on work. But you watch him in 2018, 2019, he wasn't getting across the field the same way either. Like, they do take time, and I think these players are still young. They're spine players are generally, like Tedesco wasn't at his best till he was 27, 28. Look at these halfbacks; they're 34.
Yeah,
and look at the Canterbury side too. Like, people are giving it to Burton and giving it to these players. They're 24 years old.
23, 24, yeah. Yep.
They're all the same age. And when they, just like when the Clearys and all that come through.
So, do you think
they're all dominated together?
So, like, he's got great mentors, Reece Walsh. He's got great people in his life to make him accountable for those games that he's playing in regards to playing for Queensland, playing for the Broncos. He can turn a game for you, no doubt about it. The grand final, the way he went through that hole when he beat Cleary on the outside, that was electric. And you see him do that all the time. He was clueless against us yesterday.
Yeah, Ezra Mann's another one. Ezra Mann will be he'll be worth over $1 million eventually. These guys are so young. Their window might disappear for a while, but if they keep their spine and build around them, they're going to be a threat for a long time. I
think Ezra's a type of player.
But like Reece Walsh, like he doesn't eat properly and stuff either. Like he's still young. Look, I can't stand eyebrows. I just want to see him smash him. But at the same time, when I take the blinkers off and I look at what he is and how young he is, I'm like, he's got to. If he doesn't develop all those effort areas that you're talking about, he's not going to go anywhere.
But he's got the best mentors in the world to help him with that. And he's still doing these. He's still doing these lazy type stuff. He's got Slater. He's got great mentors in the Broncos who would teach him. I'm sure Lockyer would have word to him about fullback play. I'm sure some of the other blokes who have played in that position up there would be in his ear. He's got, as obviously I just said, Slater. He's got Kevin Walters, who's a very clever guy. Surely they're noticing these things and going, Reece, come on, mate. That effort area he made last year with the Kenny try, that was diabolical. Seriously, come on. There's no gift. There's no sugarcoating that. And then watched him yesterday ghosting on that left side. And then he doesn't sprint. As soon as you see the ball go that way, he should be on his bike and sprinting. Full sprint over, chasing that ball. And he doesn't do it.
He's not at his best. There's no doubt about it. And they need to stop talking him up. It's like Latrell as well. Latrell can't.
No, he doesn't.
He does that as well. He can't get across. But when Latrell does get across, he usually gets them. If he does make the effort to get across,
he smashes him if he's there.
But if he can't,
I don't think he's
a lot of the time he doesn't have the gas in his lungs to do it, and that's why there's a certain prototype of fullback at the moment that suits these systems.
Yeah,
it's and I look at a player like Ryan Pappenhausen, and I'm like, him and Reece Walsh in the attacking mode are very, very similar. All effort, going 100 miles an hour, except he doesn't throw a stupid ball. He doesn't make as many errors in attack as what Reece Walsh does. Doesn't probably ask just as many questions though, but he's also there for the effort areas as well.
Who are you talking about there? Sorry, mate.
Pappenhausen.
Oh yeah.
Like as an attacking threat, he's similar to Walsh, but he's got that work ethic behind him. Whereas you look at Tedesco, you look at Tedesco, Edwards. Yeah. You're looking at players like Connor Tracy.
Who would you rather? I know who I'd rather.
Out of who?
If you were to talk about the Reece Walshes of the world and blah, 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 are these guys with electric speed, smarts and all that, but lazy in these little effort areas, I know who I'd rather. I'd much rather a Connor Tracy in my team or a Dill Edwards or that prototype for me. That's who I'd rather.
But these players, what I'm saying is,
Gutherson even.
Yeah, I'd rather them right now. Like Connor Tracy, as the coach said, didn't even get a preseason, and what he's done is phenomenal.
Yeah,
and he's in that mold, right?
Yeah,
but he's like 27, 28. They've had that time to mature. You go back and watch their games from. They would have had those moments in their career where they didn't get across, where they ran out of puff. Like I just don't get too critical. As an opposition fan, I'm happy to fucking scream at Reece Walsh all day of the week. But as looking at it just with my, I 100% agree. The criticism is 100% accurate, mate. You're 100% on the ball. I just think he's either going to develop that in time or he don't. He's got a choice. And even with those mentors, like this guy was caught snorting cocaine 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like literally caught by the cops out after rugby league had finished, and nothing much was said about it. You know that he had a kid young. He's got 1 million followers. Like there's lots of distractions there as well. I just think that he will. He'll either make it. It'll either make him or break him. We don't know. But
he's living in a big market.
He'll know he's got to improve in those areas, and if he doesn't, they can't keep playing off the front foot all the time.
No,
they can't. And the players like Dylan Edwards, he's going to run it on the fourth. You knew that Connor Tracy on two or three of our sets was going to run it on the fourth.
Yeah.
You knew we weren't going to try for anything. We're just going to kick it deep and then go again, and then wait for them to crack. Whereas Reece Walsh is thinking, I've got to skip around here and throw a pass to someone and get this lead back. He's and having Adam Reynolds there helps him.
The science of it, though. The different makeup of these guys. The guys who have got that fast twitch, right? They fatigue a lot quicker. The blokes like Gutherson was a fantastic long distance runner as a kid. I know that. Went to state, like my son, exactly the same. He's gone to state 5 times for long distance, which is no good for his speed. But he's got that stamina. He's got the fast twitch, but he's got the endurance. Where what would you rather? Would you rather the fast twitch with this Reece Walsh prototype, or would you rather the Dylan Edwards Gutherson type that for 80 minutes they're going to be there and they're going to push in defence and attack? They mightn't give you the Reece Walsh moments, but they're going to be that type of player that for me is more dependable. And they're going to give you those effort areas constantly, not just in little drabs of the game.
The easy answer is there's no argument there, mate. There's no. I'm just saying these guys are young, and I believe it's something that you can bring into your game as you get older and more mature. And if you don't,
kept it on like Joash, Mick? Have you kept it on like Joash? Like, where's Joash at in his development, mate?
I watched the game yesterday, and went back and watched the Warriors game. Joash, he got to play fullback last week all week, which was really good. Played well the week before. I think he had three try assists. He threw a pass. North sort of started quick. There was a big kick deep. Romano Cook got the ball, threw it to Joash, and straight away he saw the space for Jordan Mazzoni. He saw that there was we had speed to burn, and Mazzoni burnt 3 or 4 players and ran 100 metres.
I saw that try. It's an unreal try. Wow.
Yeah, Joash has been he's got quite a few try assists lately. And look, as I've said to Mark last week,
iron sharpens iron.
Joash is a footballer, and he's not just a fullback.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would cut off his arm to play anywhere. And from what I can tell, watching him, and for me, it's the amount of talk and maturity that he's shown from 1 year to the next. And then you add another season, pre-season for that. He's someone who's I expect to come into start training with the top 30 squad and remain there.
He's in the development squad at the moment, isn't he? He's not in the top 30 at the moment, is he?
No, he's not in the top 30, but I think he'll make that. And if he doesn't make it with the Bulldogs, he'll make it with some NRL club. hopefully it's the Bulldogs. He's obviously a Bulldogs junior, loves Canterbury, and you can see it in his passion. And, I did a feature on him because I just knew that, I just love watching him. And I liked what I saw. I watched him in the trial against the Raiders in 23.
Yep.
And he come on, he looked like a deer in headlights. Then watched him in the trial match against the Raiders this year. No, against the Storm, sorry.
Yeah, yep.
And
he's good. He was good that day.
Chalk and cheese. In between that, he played under 19s for New South Wales off the bench. Yeah. The maturity's coming. And as I was saying, I was very impressed with just the talk and the passion and sticking it to some of the forwards. You can see it. If you go back and just focus on one player and watch them, which is what I like to do, you can really see that's sort of what I like. The only thing I like about it,
I focused on Harry Hayes
on TV. Go watch it at the game. You can just watch all the stuff behind the scenes and see how hard these guys work.
Yeah.
And that stuff's happening all the time everywhere. And TV screen can't capture it. Whereas rugby league, you can see a lot more on the TV.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Yesterday, sitting there watching that game, I focused on Harry Hayes. I really focused on watching him and how he was going through the game, as in the minutes, how hard he was working. And it's all the off-ball stuff for that guy. He's super fit. He's a super fit player. And he's also you can see the love in the club because his grandfather played in the 67 grand final. My father would have known. Yeah, my father would have known his father very well because my dad was in the Dogs in 67 in reserve grade. So I don't know. My dad never talked about him, but I watched him yesterday, really focused on him. I said, Jack, look at this. Just watch how much work this Hayes does. And even when he's at marker, he works off the ball. He's not making that tackle, but he might make that attacker step back inside. And they're the little effort things you need. And I think someone like him, mate, how hard is it trying to displace him? Because Serrato's looking for that. That's what he loves. He loves those guys who work hard. And, is Katoga going to get the spot off him? Who's going to displace him when they come back? Kingy comes straight back in, so who goes out?
Not sure, mate. I think when you listen to Serrato when he was asked those questions, it's the next man up mentality. He's proud of those guys who come up and have done the job. When the player who's in front of him, who has set the tone, comes back, and as soon as they're available, even if that player isn't 100% and they need just to get the run under their belt, they're going to come into the side and might even weaken our side a little bit. But for the end of the year, that person's going to come in front. But I want you to have a look at these stats here. 2024 supports Canterbury first, clearly, and the Roosters are playing an extra match. West Tigers are up there. Supports are you're watching Bailey Hayward, you're watching all these Bulldogs players, and you're watching Harry Hayes yesterday running next to the man who's got the ball. In support. And that's helping us get field position. And it's imperative with a small side like us because if we don't have that, our players get manhandled.
You heard JD during the week, didn't you, mate?
I did, and I actually didn't mind his point of view on it. I actually didn't mind it at all. I'm happy to give it. I'm happy to tell him to piss off.
No. I wasn't thinking that at all, mate. I was actually thinking that he could be on the money this week about the Broncos, dry track, desperate team, and I'm thinking that's why I didn't pick him in my tips. I'm thinking we're gonna struggle up there. And then everything that I thought was wrong, like completely wrong, because Jason Taylor and Serrato came out with a magnificent game plan. That game plan was so good.
They made some really good yards again through Carrigan and through Haas. But the difference was, and that's what I thought they were going to do, but they weren't able to. We were able to keep them in the spots of the field we needed, which was fantastic. And and the fact that we did stuff that with the ball that they didn't think was coming, or that they weren't prepared for, or they weren't sure what we were going to do, enabled us just to keep control, and all they did was defend.
You were at the game last year, because I remember the Broncos Dogs game was the Reynolds last game last year. You were there, weren't you, for that game at Belmore?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if you look at that, Reynolds played us like a fiddle. Yesterday, here was him, Walsh, Mann, and Billy Walters wasn't as bad as those three. They were clueless. There was times where I'm thinking, what is going on? They are like headless chooks at the moment. Their ball playing was like, I mean, our defense was so rock solid, and without thinking them in defense. And then when Preston would come in and whack one of them, like his defense yesterday was superb. And anyone who went down that right side, they were getting belted by Preston. They couldn't get through him.
So just to give you an idea, Bulldogs in support play, let's just go, we're last year.
Yep.
This year we're first.
That's the stat right there.
We've actually run more support runs in 18 games than we ran in 24 last year. In total. That's something when we've got the ball. And that's the thing. People talk about attack and your defense and your attack. The fact, I'll give you some facts. It's all relative to each other. You've got to do stuff with the ball that helps your defense, because it takes the effort out of the opposition attack. And it's the same vice versa. Everything you do counts on both sides of the score sheet, on both sides of the ball. And, that's such an important thing. And that's supports was something that wasn't looked at for a long time. No one gave a shit. They go, oh, this person made 45 tackles. They were brilliant.
Yeah.
Toby Sexton made 35 yesterday and was our number one tackler. Now, that's a stat, because that means Viliami Kiko only made 14 tackles. You know why? Because he had to go into the middle to make it.
They stepped back inside. He was putting pressure on all the time.
Yeah, and he had to go to the middle to try and get a tackle. They didn't want to run any.
Yeah, no.
People got to get their head out of the stat and actually look at what actually fucking happened.
I don't even listen to these people, mate. They've got no idea about the game. Some of the comments I see online, they have no idea what they're talking about. And I have to set some of them straight and go, some of the times I say something, some of the times I just sit there and let it go through to the keeper, because they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Because
line engagements are another.
Kickout's involvements in defence, his kick chase, his movement, he's as good a reader of defence as Crichton. His defensive reads, he knows exactly what's coming on that side of the field. He protects that guy who's next to him, which is Sherry and Wilson, and protects them and tells them what's going on. He's a very clever guy. So I've got all the faith in the world with him, mate. And he misses tackles because he actually puts pressure all the time. His missed tackles might be like 5 in a game, but every one of them is forced missed tackle.
100%. So, there was 5 missed tackles in the last minute of the first half yesterday. 3 of them allowed the Broncos to get outside of us and get some luck and get one of those arsey tries. Yeah. Those missed tackles count. You've got to look at the ones that count and the ones that don't. Now, let's look at line breaks. For people talking about our attack, how shit it was before yesterday.
Yeah.
We were last year for line breaks. This year, we're top 5. And average line breaks were better.
Who's that?
So these stats count.
Cowboys, Storm, Manly. So Panthers are a bit down, aren't they, on that?
Yeah, they've been affected.
They just grind you into the dust, don't they? They just play this long game, death by 1,000 cuts type game.
Yeah, their system works.
You just bleed out. They just bleed you out.
Their system works. They haven't had Cleary. They put on a score today. So they've just been doing what they have to win. They've lost a few games they're probably not happy about, but still there doing their thing. Their system works. Kick meters, we're number 1 in that. Last year, I think we were still pretty high in that. 12th. We're just up in all the key stats. Post contact, we still struggle a lot.
Because we're small. We're playing small ball, so we're not getting over that advantage line by having those big bodies.
We're last, a long way last in that. Dolphins have got a game in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look, you're going to put Bailey Hayward in the same breath as Carrigan. Like, they're playing the same position.
100%.
You know, like, you got Kurt Mann. But I'll tell you right now, at the moment, he's the best defender in the comp. And I'm not being bullshitting here, is Kurt Mann. He is hitting and sticking guys in every game. And you see there, I've actually never taken that much notice of Kurt Mann's head on defense. It is vicious. He has got a great technique of tackling, and he belted a few of those Broncos yesterday, and none of them wanted to run at him.
Yep.
Anywhere Kurt Mann's shoulder, 100%. He was belting players, and he's done it all year. I tell you right now, what an unsung hero he is, mate. He's, wow. What a great sign.
Missed tackles, we're still number one for missed tackles. Storm was second for missed tackles last year. Storm was the second worst team for missed tackles last year.
Yeah.
Charge downs, which means effort. We're double the next team.
Yeah.
Hasn't always helped us. Intercepts, we've got a few. I know that doesn't mean much.
God, Manly got 3 yesterday.
Errors, we're in the middle of the pack. You want to be in the middle of the pack for errors as long as your teams that win.
Have you got the stat for penalties? Do we give away the most penalties or the
second worst?
6 agains?
Penalties conceded. I'm not sure if this is. Yeah, that's not correct. That.
Yeah.
It's just had a little skits a bit. Penalties conceded. Storm. Oh, that was last year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Roosters then us.
Oh, okay. So we're way up there. I thought we might be.
Yeah, there's too many people on this. The NRL needs to invest money in its statistic fucking page. I can tell you that much. That's later than shit. But anyway, let's get to the fans who have had Mark Cruz, come on. I just want to have a chat about the fans for a minute. Let's get it on there. Top 4 is possible. By the way, the Panthers and Dragons with a draw is an error. Yeah, there's errors all over the ladder, mate. Don't worry about that. But we got it pretty close, don't worry. We're pretty close. Dolphins still in the 8, Dragons are 9. Fox possibly back next week. If Critter is rested for another week, Carrad stays at centre. Skelton done enough to take Wilson's spot as third in the line.
100% in my opinion.
As I said, it's a system. So
yeah,
if there's an injury like Cherry didn't get across the ground as good as he could have, I think he's carrying an injury.
Yeah, that's what my mate told me.
Wilson will be close by the Fox and no one else.
Yeah,
right. Gerald Skelton did a fantastic job, but he was the one doing the bash and barge. We know what he can do, and defensively stood up yesterday as well, which was the main important thing. We all love him. We all want him in the club, but be prepared. He's one that might have to go because he's going to probably get money. But surprised they haven't offered him more money, and he might just be like, "I'm going to stay with you guys. Just give me a contract."
To be honest with you, he could be one of those blokes who's like, he sees the trajectory of the club and says, "This is where I want to be to see."
Yeah,
mate, they put time and effort in me. They're the ones who have taught me this game because I didn't play this game. He might have played at junior level, but he hasn't played at the top level. The Dogs have put a lot of time and effort into him to teach him the structures of defense and everything.
Yeah,
and he might just say, "You know what, stuff it. I want to stay here. I can feel the success coming." And why would I want to go to some? He could possibly go to a good team, but he could go to a struggler as well. If you know what I mean, they might offer him good money.
A struggler would pay money for him, but a good team would.
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah,
would put him into their top. Like the Roosters, to me, have the room for someone like Skelton. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, but they've just signed Tupu again. They've signed Tupu again. They've signed. They got Dom Young. They've got another couple of other young blokes in their reserves, and I can't see them getting Skelton. To be honest, I can't see them going that way. Whereas I could see a team that really needs him. Like yesterday, he's a very cerebral footballer because he's played that width game in sevens rugby. He knows width and how to play. So when that ball kicked down him, he saw straight away the width, and he went bang off he went into them. So he stepped off his right foot. He went towards the middle of the field, and then stepped off his left and went back out, and bang straight to Kraz down the sideline. And I'm sitting there going, that's a guy who understands width. He understands from playing sevens rugby. Very clever.
And all the attributes he's got, is like the balance he has off his palm and stuff is pretty sensational. And
it's unreal. And he hits like a steam train too. So when he comes in on the line, do you want to be that centre, like the centre from the Roosters, to take that ball? Would you like to do it? I'm not that one. He hits like Steve Maddai. He hits like Maddai used to. Like
Perez is in front of him. I think Wilson's there as the replacement for the Fox.
I know.
The system's the way it is, and they're going to use that system and stick to it, and they're not going to give in on it. Unfortunately, But anyway, we need to re-sign him. I want us to re-sign him. I want him when he plays. I'm happy. I feel that there's points in us when he's there. Yeah. We just got to see what's cracking here. G'day, Mark. Welcome back, buddy. Thanks for.
Hey, Mark. How are you, mate? I don't know if you heard me before, but I've disagreed with you about the Blake Wilson thing. I don't want to get you upset, but I think.
Oh, you won't upset him.
He's not the top fullback winger in the club at all, in my opinion.
Well, see, in Mark's team, he's got Joash Papali as the fullback, Blake Wilson on the wing,
in front of Connor
and Bailey Hayward. Probably Bailey Hayward at hooker.
So in front of Marnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
But anyway, Mark, he loves the young fellas. Amazing game to bet. Like, Mark, what a game, buddy. What a game to be at. And I wish I was there with you, mate. And glad you and everyone got to celebrate that win. They would generally go back home then to Auckland. What's that?
That's coming from the Dolphins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like come back to Sydney from Bundaberg and then fly over.
Well, the last time they did that run, they had to go to the Cowboys. Then they had to play the Dolphins in Bundaberg.
Yeah.
No, we played the Dolphins in Bundaberg. Then we played the Cowboys, and then we because this is the third year.
We wouldn't have come.
No, we played the Cowboys in Bundaberg and lost that game. Then we went to the Warriors.
I thought we only played the Finns at Bundaberg.
No, this was in 2022.
Oh, okay.
It was the first year we went to Bundy.
Sorry.
So we then had a 5-day turnaround, but the flight got cancelled, so they had to wait a day and then leave the next day. And then they only had one. They just had the captain's run, and they had to play on Friday night after a Sunday game in Bundaberg. They just treated it like a holiday, and we're in both games up to our necks till half time and got beaten by 40. And a lot of fans had a lot to say about that, but it was just the way it was. So we did that long trip, but I think they're going to do what they did last week, and they'll play the Dolphins in Bundaberg, and then they'll go to back home, and it'll be about the club. It'll be about winning. It's not going to be about the players who have ties with family and stuff in New Zealand, going over there and having a holiday and stuff. I think they will. It'll all be about winning. And
this time of the year, is it getting hotter?
Repeating the preparation. Broncos are done, Mark says. Well, he thought the Broncos were done beforehand, so it's easy to say that. I
think their roster, but their roster looks broken too. You see, Cobbo is out there; he's running around on one leg. The winger Arthurs was running around on one leg. Mariner got limped off. There's another one gone. Reece Walsh is not 100% at the moment. Reynolds was limping around as well. So they have got a lot of dramas in their back line. They've got a lot of injuries. So that is going to be hard for them to get over all that. But can they go on a run? I don't know. They've got the roster.
Mark, he didn't mean Morgan, just so you know. Woodward was at the Storm. Yep. Well, he's at the Bulldogs now. Dragons will be 8th. Maybe. Did you watch them today, Mark? Dolphins will be 7th. Oh, that's right. You've put what? That's right. He worked out what was going to be last week.
Yeah, okay.
The theory is real. Raiders are smashing Souths.
Ah, okay.
Souths are a speed bump this year. No, it was Toby Sexton.
What's that one about?
Not sure. The Dogs dismantled the Broncos. Walsh and the Broncos had no answer. We certainly did, Mark. The Dogs dismantled the Storm the exact same way. Yeah, well, look, it wasn't the exact same way.
Storm 41
we looked a lot better, but we also had some young guys who went missing and just switched off for one set and conceded that last try. And we came back in that match. We didn't have the variation in what we're doing in attack. We didn't have the short kicking game of Sexton. And I don't think we might have went to the Storm and ambushed them earlier in the year and won that game with a Toby Sexton. But I think the Storm would have scored a few more tries down the right or left edge.
As I said in the last pod with you, I understand why Drew was there because Toby wasn't going to make that tackle on Cleese Haas. That's the key one I saw start of the season when we played the Titans that game, 5 metres out from the line. Drew Hutchison nailed Cleese Haas, drove him back. Toby's not making that tackle at the time. So I understand why Drew was there. And I was just talking about those metrics you put up on the screen before.
Yeah.
Confidence is a metric. Toby Sexton's
100%.
confidence. Toby Sexton's confidence and all the rest of the team are feeling that. And the talk, as you said before, the talk. But you can just see how much confidence the team's got in the bloke to their right and the bloke to the left. They're confident in each other. And last year it wasn't there. And that's why we were getting towed up 66-0 and shit like that. And then they gave up in games. There's no give up. There's no give up this year. Zero give up.
It's, as I said, it's a system.
Right for the last minute.
But they had Salmon and Mann working that system. One of them got injured or whatever. Bailey Hayward comes in, works into the system. Jake Turpin was there to work in that system. They've got their hybrid player on the bench who can
Curtis Moran.
He's not a hybrid. He's just playing middle. They have that player like Harry Hayes. They started it with Ockenball last year. Why was Ockenball there? Because he did everything he was told to do at training. He lived and breathed the values that were getting bred by the club. They knew that he had a big poltergeist on his back, and every time he dropped the ball, the whole club, the whole fan base would just give up.
Yeah.
But and then he had to go. Like same with Brandon Wakem, and those players knew they had to go as well. But you've got to trust the coach and the people who deserve to be picked.
Yeah. Jaden, they targeted him in the kicking game a lot when he was playing on the wing. He was better in the forwards because he felt like he was protected left and right. His hands were a bit suspect on the wing. So I can see why they moved him. Big body as well. Big body.
He had a heart the size of a pea is what somebody said about him growing up or something. But look, he's not done well over in England either. He's been really poor there. I watched a few of the games, just really poor.
Yeah.
Put Skelton as a forward to replace King. Mark, Joe Ash isn't the best fullback at the club.
He's not the best fullback in the club at the moment, mate.
There's no point saying somebody's the best. There's a system.
you want to
And they've
throw?
got their next man up, and that's all there is to it. And these young kids,
I just don't want to throw these kids to the wolves, mate.
no,
I
we've
don't
done it.
want. I think the Tigers have made a huge
Teams need to learn.
Lockie Galvin. I really do. I think you can't throw 18, 19-year-old kids to the wolves like we did with Alapu last year. And why do you think he's got a neck injury now? Because he goes out there and has to defend on that edge and he gets fucking belted. And everyone, mate, great tackler, don't get me wrong, but why did he get hurt? Because we threw him to the wolves too early in his career. So I don't want that anymore. I want kids.
Well, they reckon his injury was always going to happen. So it was partly to do with the way that just his spine was and stuff.
How he defends.
Yeah. No, his actual physical makeup, there was always going to be an issue with his back or his neck.
I've had that surgery. So I've had disc replacement surgery on my neck from an accident underground. And it takes a lot of confidence in yourself and a lot of hard work to get back into any good.
He may not.
He may not. To be honest with you, the bloke's like I know he's doing a lot of talking to the fullback Minicello because he had that same surgery. So I know they've kept in touch. And Gus Gold actually said that. He's reached out to Minicello to work on Alapu's mental state to help him get through this. It is a horrible surgery, mate. I'm telling you. The pain is out of control. So I'm hope he comes back. I really do. I just don't know in what capacity he'll come back. You know what I mean? And I don't want any more of those kids getting thrown to the wolves. Like we don't want to go Mitch Woods thrown in there and kids like that. Let them develop. Let them develop. Give them time.
Matt Burton will have 150, 200 games by then. Matt Burton won't be the same Matt Burton that came to our club with all the talent and all the skills, but still need to learn that, you know, you have to keep running. You have to keep moving. You can't give up. You know,
iron sharpens iron, Mick. So these kids are going to be up Burton's ass in
that's right.
a year and a half's time, 2 years' time.
And that's what I was saying with Mark last week. There's people who have come to the club, and that's what happened with Jacob Preston, and it was perfectly worded.
Yeah.
They outworked the people around them and embarrassed them.
Yeah.
And the players that got embarrassed worked harder to make sure that didn't happen. And the ones that didn't and started talking about how they had the talent and they had the runs on the board and they should be there, they're the ones no longer in the club. They're the ones who have gone. And that's the way it's moving forward.
Right now.
And that's not disrespect. That's not disrespecting all those players either, mate. That's some of these players have had that sort of it's just been the culture.
Yeah.
And it's hard to break out of that. And when you've got your family at home who are relying on you bringing all this money and you live in a lifestyle and then suddenly you're off contract and it's all up in the air. The families are the ones that are feeling the pressure and stuff. And this is why things blow up. But people don't understand they're human beings.
When Barrett came to the club,
that's why I don't bag Jackson Torpenay. I bag the fact that the advice that he got.
Yeah. But
I don't bag him. I bag the fact that, you know, around Anzac Day they were talking about bloody corporal punishment. And then I read out what my grandfather went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's not go there for litigation against a rugby league team. But anyway, I'm getting off the track. We've got to get through these.
That's a bad precedent. But talking about RFM there, because that's the guy we're talking about who Jacob Preston displaced that
was Andrew Davey as well. Andrew Davey mainly.
Oh, Andrew Davies, right? Mate, come on, please. He's not even in the same conversation as RFM and Preston.
Yeah, but he was the one who was having a big carry on, which is why he went missing.
Yeah, but I would have been thinking more RFM. RFM just made captain of the club. RFM's that on that edge. That's where he was. And when Barrett came, like not last year, the year before, I was so happy that Barrett came. I was like, couldn't wait. And I'm thinking RFM's going to get over those injuries because I rate him so highly. Like I love the way he plays. And I just felt he's going to have a breakout year. And what happens? It was diabolical. It was just from start to finish, he just wasn't in it. And then that game against the Dragons down here, I'm telling you, it was, mate. Actually, no, that was the only game I saw him play last year that he actually really put a bit of effort in. There was one game, 40 minutes,
played well against the Storm.
0 meters in one half. Like, that's
he played well
unheard
against
of
the
as a
Storm.
front rower.
He had 2 good games last year, or 2 7 out of 10 games.
Yep.
And the other games, he just was off the pace. But look, he still wasn't right from injury, and obviously there was stuff going on. So
no, but I love him. It
wasn't just him. Yeah, I like him as a person too. I think he's a good bloke.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got to go through these comments because some of them have been there for an hour. Mike Cool loves Harry Hayes, and Mark reckons he reminds him of David Clemmer.
Bit smaller.
Yeah, I think I love the aggression he's come into first grade with, and like we should have had them in goal, and then they nearly fucking run up the sideline, and then they go to 40-20. Like that was just bullshit. Like right then, I'm thinking this is
how much were you blowing up with that one?
D's on. He said most wingers are not used to constant effort and effort plays, which is how our forwards play. Skelton wouldn't fit our style of forwards because someone said that maybe put
him in the second row. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam said put him in the second row, which is a fair enough comment because many have made that. Mark says we missed nearly 50 tackles though. Yep, and there was about 5 or 6 which were led to points. Well, stats, we're coming first. Well, Mark, we're coming first in missed tackles, which is not where you want to come, but we're second in defence, points conceded. So stats do lie, because stats tell you that because the way people talk, if you're missing all the tackles, you're not winning the match. You're not making the argument.
It's different tackles you miss, as we discussed before about kick out. Like he's missed
tackles.
Hey?
Bloody Tony Carroll used to only make 18, 20 tackles because and he used to slow down the amount of tackles that Lockyer had to make.
Yeah.
Because people didn't want to run at Lockyer because Tony would smash him.
Well, do you think anyone wanted to run down that edge where Maddai and Glenn Stewart used to play?
Exactly.
No chance, mate. They ran the other side. I'm not going to go down there where Maddai's playing. Fuck that.
That's right.
You caved me rib cage in.
And now we've got players in our side.
Glenn Stewart to do the same thing right next to him.
And that's another point. Jacob Preston yesterday, he put a target on Reece Walsh.
Hey?
He put a target on Reece Walsh. He hit him 3 times.
Yep.
Nullified him out of the game.
Yep. Yeah, when Reece was doing those loops coming around, Jacob Preston went straight to Reece. He didn't give a shit about the bloke. They could have gone short and maybe outthought us, but they kept going to Reece, and Jacob was all over him like a rash.
I don't know what Mark reckons kick out was pretty ordinary on the weekend.
He's playing busted still.
I don't think he was ordinary though.
No, he wasn't ordinary, mate. I know Mark can make some.
He's very critical of the players on more money. We've got a lot of.
Yeah, hey, Mark, what do you think about Critter then? Are you critical of him?
He has his ideas, and that's it. And that's all there is to
it.
Yeah. But we had a good time on the podcast last week. Kick-out needs to run the ball like he played against the Roosters. The thing is, Sam, and this is what I'm talking about, it's horses for courses, and obviously kick-out, he's not running any less hard. He's not running softer.
They used him as a foil yesterday. They used kick-out as a foil.
Kick-out's job is a second rower's job to tackle their fucking heart out. And that's what he does. And he wants to make more tackles than he can, but players don't launch into him as a defender. They're not heading his way. We just said that. With the ball, we're a one-trick pony if we just expect that Kick-out is going to run hard at the line, do a quick play of the ball and set up the next play or bust through himself.
Well, don't you think yesterday was Kick-out was integral part of that game plan, which he was the guy that they were cutting out to go out to the centre. So those
they turned on him every time.
Hey?
They expected Kick-out to get the ball on about 3 of those occasions that we made line break.
Exactly, mate. He
So
was
when you
interesting.
sit there and say a player hasn't played that well, why? Because they didn't utilise him in that role. He wasn't utilised that way. He was utilised to free up other players.
That's why we made all those.
If Kikau wasn't there, Bronson Cherry doesn't get that first try.
100%, mate. 100%.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like that. Fuck, Pete, you get it because you played a lot of rugby league. You know, and I played a lot of soccer. You know, I'm not very good at rugby league.
I played that position. That was probably my main position, was Kikau's position on the right edge, but they didn't play right edge and left edge back in my day. They played second rowers, and we'd go from one side of the field to the other. It was a different game in the 90s and that. But what I'm saying is I still understand why we made all those breaks, because those kickers, those wingers and centers were jamming in to go to Kikau thinking they're going to do that Roosters game plan, which didn't eventuate. They went out the back. Burton went out the back to either Jerry or Carraz on the other side, and they outthought them. They outthought the Broncos because obviously Serraldo and JT saw something in the video room. They'd seen how really bad habits been done by the Broncos, and it was a really thought-out, great game plan.
Couldn't have said it better,
mate. So, you know, and we're sitting here with a 41-16 victory. Like, God, here's a question for you. What do you reckon 41-16 pick the score would have been paying?
Jeez. Oh my God.
We'd
probably find out. But gamble responsibly.
$500, $500 to 1.
D says second best defensive team won regardless of the team with the most missed tackles. That stat there shows irrelevance in missed tackles in terms of great defence.
Well done, D.
Mark said Kikau's not fully fit. I'm sure he's playing busted. He is, Mark. He's had two hands, both hands injured. And the fact he's still...
you, Mark, Kikau's
playing angry too.
If you heard me saying earlier on with a person I know from inside the club, he's inside the four walls, who's got the guts on a few little things. We have got a lot of players busted, and Kikau's one of our main ones.
Yeah, you could see like he's
getting hurt all the time.
He's getting hurt. They want to take him off. He's like, no, he scores a try, and it's like something bad happened. He wasn't happy.
He still played 80 minutes yesterday, Mick, didn't he?
Yeah, because he refuses to concede.
Refuses to come off.
He's the first person there to make the tackle off the kick chase.
Yeah.
He's just effort after effort. And when people call him lazy, like my mate, he's lazy.
Who's that?
I can't fucking believe it, you know.
Please, come on, man.
Mark,
these guys, these warriors who make these statements online have no freaking idea what they're talking about. I'm telling you, it is insane, some of the things I hear online. And I go, what are you talking about, mate? Come on.
It's always reactively too.
The game? Do you actually know the game, or you just love seeing write something and then just try and get a reaction out of all the other people who are reading it? And obviously they get a reaction from me.
Mark agrees about Kurt Mann. He hits hard and anyone misses very little. Great service from the middle. I think he's one of the, look, I've said this before he come.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the he's not a player that anyone gets excited about a lot. Most people don't get excited about Kurt Mann, even his own supporters. But as an opposition player fan watching their games, every time he came on the field for Newcastle, they were a better team when he was on it.
Yeah, 100%.
And those sort of players are just worth so much to your side. And he's like that for us. We have been better since he's come back from suspension.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, unbelievable. Here's one thing I didn't bring up.
There you go, mate.
What I did see was yesterday when Marnie was playing for Para, before he came to us, and they played in that year where they were getting to the grand final. His service out of dummy half, he was hitting Moses around about the C defender, right? So those passes are cutting out A, B, and hitting outside of C, right? So that's three players outside on your defensive line. So straight away you've got that width, And yesterday, the first time I've seen it for the Dogs, it was his passing yesterday was absolutely brilliant from dummy half. He was hitting Sexton and Burton outside the C yesterday. That's the first time I've seen him happen. Have you noticed that? That's never happened before.
Well, Marnie, that's his strength.
Pass from width. He hasn't been doing that because he was hitting Moses and Brown 2 years ago, and in the year previous to that, why they made the grand final, because that was their game plan. Inside balls, hit their block shape, bang, hit Moses was wide, and he's like got all this room, and he was
they're running onto the ball at speed, 30 meters from where the ball was played.
Marty was hitting Sexton 20, 30 meters from the ruck.
Exactly.
Did you notice that?
I think it's quite good because Mark's made a comment. We're going to go to it. Sexton's responsible, not Marnie, and that was in relation to you saying Marnie's selection of which way to go was so imperative yesterday. So, Mark, that's where you can learn something, mate. Go back and watch the game. Your hook is everything.
Your hooker's everything, mate.
Your hooker is.
Do you think Cameron Smith? Do you think that the halfback?
We were talking about Cameron Smith last week.
Please, come on, mate. Like Cameron Storm set the tone for that team in every facet. Cooper Crompton said it. Cameron Smith did.
And Cameron could pass off the deck. He could pass off the deck or play as an extra.
What Marnie sees.
He could play off the deck, Cameron Smith, or be an extra ball player, which is what he was. He played like a third half.
That's right.
And we've got the hybrid from that happening because we've brought in this extra heart. The reason we're doing so many more passes this year as well is because we've got that extra small man in the middle.
Yeah.
So they were just going left to right off the deck, and the Broncos, you could see by the way, it wasn't just like, and this sort of feeds back into the Reece Walsh thing.
Yeah.
He was run ragged because of the way we moved from left to right. It wasn't just playing sideways. We're hitting that ball.
We're hitting
20 or 30 meters outside of the C section of the ruck.
Yep.
And you like Toby Sexton doesn't have the man. I thought he was man of the match. You could have said him. You could have said Connor Tracy. You could have said quite a few players yesterday, right?
Connor Tracy get the man of the match?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You could have said it was Gerald Skelton with 300 meters. But the fact of the matter is, Toby Sexton defensively was brilliant yesterday. Marnie only made 25, 26 tackles.
Yeah.
They were a one-trick pony. They targeted our right edge all day.
Yeah.
Thought they were going to break through.
They did, yeah.
Basically didn't. I don't think they did, to be honest.
No.
They didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't
score a try on that right edge at all. Not once.
So Preston and Toby did it, worked their asses off.
Great job.
And
here's one for you.
Toby had that ability to run onto that football, and the Broncos didn't know if he was going short, if he was going long, if he was going to kick. And that's what assisted him, was what with Marnie sending the ball his way.
3 things a half's got to have. He's got to have the 3 intangibles. That's what he's got to have. He's got to be able. Defense has to be scared of him. Have to be scared of his running game. He has to. He has to be put a defensive line in to scared he might have run. He's got to have a good passing game, and he's got to have a little good kicking game. So they're the 3. Unfortunately, when Flano was at our club, he just didn't have one of those. He didn't scare defense with his running game. They were always. But now they're starting to get petrified of what Secco is going to do. He's bamboozling their defensive line going, that yesterday was beautiful, some of those plays he put on. That pass to Preston, that double pump when he goes boom, boom, and he goes, I'm going to go at the back. I've got Tracy coming round. I've got, and then he just goes short to Preston straight through the hole. I've seen it again today.
We did it to the Eels.
That's the top level of ball playing for your half right there.
We did it to the Eels as well down that right edge as well.
Elite level ball playing.
Tracy had a field day on that right edge off Toby against the Eels. So did and Marnie had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. No, but I haven't seen Marnie do the 20, 30 metre pass like he used to do at Para. So this is the first time I've seen the evolution of that. And that's what I'm saying. Dry track, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, we drop fuck all ball, mate. Honestly, if we went there and all of a sudden we're just dropping the ball and everything's just not going to plan and blah, blah, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to revert back to what they were doing before. But because we didn't drop any ball, it was like 10, 15 sets of 6 in a row. We're not dropping the ball. And we're throwing 30-metre long passes and getting all this width. I'm going, mate, this brand of football is the best brand of football I've seen since 2012 when Barber and Morris were carting teams up to shreds. It was the best brand I've seen.
Okay, a lot of people wrote them off yesterday for the performance, but one thing I will say is that we've done this a lot in games. There was a game against Penrith, there was a game against the Warriors and the Sharks where the ball was just, and even the Eels, I think, the ball was just in play for a long time and both teams were buggered at a point. Yeah. And that happened yesterday against the Broncos for about 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. Towards that end of that first half, and both teams looked pretty tired. And we're winning all those matches. You know what I mean?
We are.
Because
we break the Broncos' spirit a bit.
We're breaking their spirit.
We break their spirit.
And we could have and I felt we shut that game against Penrith. Cleary was a difference early before he got injured.
Yeah.
But we went toe-to-toe with them for about 25, 30 minutes. And that was like telling the guys we can do it. Few more little things that we earn in that game, few more moments.
Yeah.
And we beat this team. We can beat this team. And so much belief coming out of that game, I believe, in that loss. There was obviously belief out of that Storm game.
How big an out do you reckon Fish is? If he's out for like an extended period, where do you see Penrith coming back to the pack a little bit without him? Say Fish is out for 6 weeks. Because it looked really bad.
I don't think they can win the comp without Fisher Harris.
Me too, mate. I'm 100% behind that. I totally agree with that. I can't see him win the comp without him.
You can't run it. You can't ride him up.
He's for everything. He's their spiritual leader. He's their talisman.
Leota's in the same boat. You take one of those guys out in the big games.
Can Leota do it on his own? I don't know. Because I rate Lindsay Smith and Henry. I like them. But I just think Fisher Harris is that next level above. And
I think and they'll get to that level, those guys. Is it too soon this year, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But every team has to fall away at some point. Interesting to see Serrato credit Jason Taylor.
Oh, I knew it. Has he done that, has he? I knew that Jason Taylor's paw prints all over that game plan. I knew it.
Mark's at it again. He's the best fullback at the club. You can spray all you like. There's no spray, mate. The best. If Joe Ash was the best fullback in the club,
he's like a dog with a bone, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's so funny. I loved his. I loved you guys arguing. I haven't had an argument with you yet, but I loved your argument with him last week, and it was not real. Like a real life
situation. We've argued this point 100 times.
You know, everyone's, feathering your nest and cupping your balls and being nice to everybody. No, you two going at each other last week was really good. It was actually real.
We know where we stand. We know we both love the Bulldogs at the end of the day, and that's all that matters.
No, I just still like how you guys there's no fluff, if you know what I mean. You're actually disagreeing with each other and I just thought it was good. I liked it.
So the Raiders are smashing the Rabbits 30-12 at home. Team with a real chance. Other team that's actually gone.
Mate, if we don't win at Belmore, mate, that's our spiritual home. Come on, I think we played last week, mate. Is it the game plan going to change? He might change the game plan. He might see that we have to play a different way against the Raiders. If we play this expansive game, will it work? Will it not? I I'll tell you what happened, right? When I played under Mulholland had a game plan because back before video was really big, Mulholland was doing video then, even when we were like 17, 18 at St. Greg's. So he would have a different game plan for each team we played in that Commonwealth Bank Cup. We played James Cook High, we played all these other teams, and what he goes, he'd get video of these teams and go, oh, there's a weakness there, blah, blah, and our game plan completely change. And if you can imagine how hard that is to change a game plan, it's really hard because you've been doing all this training during the off-season and everything, and then all of a sudden you throw a wobbly into the room, like a grenade in the room, and go, oh, we're going to change everything. Like, you have to be really good players to do that, to be able to do that. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, Serrato. Is he going to change his game plan now against different team?
I think there's horses for courses, and you've got to. But at the same time, there's a system. You watch and it's about, if you're a poker player, you can't win every hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
You know when to hold and fold. It's the same bloody thing, mate. Ross says Gus Gold has got one of the best sports minds in the country. Mark, can't let him go. Laugh. No, mate, Kigo's playing busters and no excuses will defend that. No one's made excuses. He's playing busted. We said that. And also said that it's not an excuse when he's out there putting his 100% effort in when he's moving into the middle so he can make tackles because they're all playing down one edge. Was kick out supposed to go stand next to Jacob Preston because they're running at Preston? Is that what's supposed to happen? He actually did he actually defended moved out to the right and made an important tackle in that game.
Yeah, he moved in the middle heaps of times yesterday because they were running all the way to the right. Always.
Mark, Toby didn't go to Burton's side to fucking tackle.
Exactly. I lost you there, mate.
Yeah, we've come back. We don't need to throw mud when we don't need to. Kick out is busting his ass. Simple as that. I was there, mate. Marnie went the wrong way plenty of times. What's the right way?
There is no right and wrong way. It's rugby league, Mark. There is no right and wrong way. No matter what, you just got to stick, mate. They talk about this process thing. It's trying to find weaknesses and weak links in a defensive system. And they found them in Broncos yesterday. If you go left and there's more thing on the right, there's got to be something Marnie's seen. He's seen something and gone, I'm going that way. It's not because I'm just going out with his mindset. I have to give it to Sexton. I have to give it to Burton. Like last year was all about Burton. We got to give it to Burton all the time. Fuck. Yeah. We might as well not even add a bloody 5'8" or a halfback because we're going to give it to Burton all the time. You have to create, mate. Now we've got two players and Marnie goes, you know what? I'm going to go whoever I fucking want. I'm going to go to Burton because I'm seeing something wrong on that left side and I'm seeing a weakness in that defence and he plays eyes up footy. He doesn't go into the dummy half and go with his head down. You got to look up. You got to scan the defensive line and go, okay, I'm seeing something weak there. I'm seeing something weak there. That's the way I'm going to go.
In hindsight, you can fucking say whatever you want. It doesn't mean, fucking hindsight, Mark.
Please.
Michael, something funny happened last week. So every Tuesday night, two players come to Canterbury Leagues Club and get to sign stuff and take photos of fans. Last Tuesday it was Katoga and Critter. Yeah, well, one of the guys, Mike, was there. Was actually at there when they were getting talking to him at the Leagues Club, and he was actually chatting on here. I was saying, I'll send you an invite. You can get him on the show with me and Mark. Usually when players come or see, maybe a group of people come at best, line up in line, no more than maybe 10. When Critter came, it was a line up to the car park and I had to wait for 2 hours.
Wow.
There you go. Thanks for sharing that, mate. That's bloody brilliant.
Man. That's incredible, Mike. Sorry.
Well, this sort of stuff might happen a little bit less over as we run into the finals because they've got a bunker down now. It's sort of like the Dally M points going behind closed doors, isn't it? Like, okay, it's time to get rid of the distractions
It's time.
You don't want to have the fans sitting there telling you everything that's going on and blowing wind up your ass.
Yeah.
Every game. Next game. No distraction. The media are going to be like, we know NRL 360 are annoying and shit, but they've been giving it the buzz all year about the Bulldogs, which is good. Yeah. But they're going to be talking about how great the Bulldogs are. They're going to be basically talking about, breaking it all down, how it's all happened and how much they know.
Well, Serrano will circle the wagon soon, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, I reckon it's happening.
And Gussie Gould is like, how long's Gus been in the game? He, mate, believe me, he's going to go, it's time. It's time, camp. It's like, we've been great with everybody. We've given everyone access. But sooner or later, you got to go, no more. That's it. It's got to be just us and all the people in these four walls, and that's it. No more.
Mark says Sexton was man of the match, Dale. I agree. He was man of the match. He didn't get 12 daily end points or however many they get. He would have got some.
Yeah.
I've come out and said he was my man of the match. Had an absolute blinder. But, they ran at him all day. He made the tackles and he did his work and he talked.
Well, last year, the massive difference with Sexton is his confidence in defence. Last year, he copped that knock at that game against the Broncos and got knocked out by Cobbo.
Yeah.
And I saw yesterday.
We were on top till that happened too.
He belted Cobbo yesterday. And it was almost like, you know what? Fuck you, Cobbo. I remember you knocking me out with your knee hitting me in the head last year. This is revenge for me today. I'm going to go out there and make a statement today. And he made a statement in defence and attack. He was so good. And he
had a lot of family at the game too yesterday. He had a lot of family at the game yesterday too.
Yeah, I think he's out that way,
yeah. I think he did a phenomenal job yesterday, and Mark and I talked about the evolution of unleashing the small kicking game. I put that down as they've held it back. Like, you don't just go out there and throw it all on the fucking table. You don't try and win every hand.
That's right.
You've got to have stages in your season, and they've had a plan. They've stuck to it.
Well,
they haven't done everything right. You can't do everything right in hindsight, but fuck.
Remember, Birdo's put that in his hip pocket too. Like, he's really put his short kicking game in his hip pocket and thrown it away. He's not doing it anymore because he wasn't just converting those moments. He was not getting it right. So I think that he's gone, okay, look, Toby executes it better than I do. So let Toby run the team, give me my moments, and I'll do my thing. And Toby,
he's got 2 try assists from kicks as well in the last 2 weeks.
Toby scored one of his tries from the Burton kick, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he's not doing it. But remember Burton, because he does this no-look kick. So he goes to the line and he drops it on his foot, but you think he's going to pass it. Have you noticed how he does that?
And he's how many tries has the Fox scored from Burton kicks? He's got a good kicking game.
So many. Because he
will bring those kicks out.
It's the Sky's kick because they think he's going to pass it.
He's going to bring out kicks like Toby's doing at the moment. They're all going to be all over him. Then the variation will come in our attack when it's needed. And this is what I'm talking about.
That's what you got to have.
You needed that player on both. You couldn't carry 2 left-handed kickers for a full season.
No.
Deliberately. It just wasn't going to happen. And the problem with Hutchison playing on the right edge, he just used to be so transparent with everything he was going to do, which, I've spoken to someone who's, very closely related to
Drew,
a player in rugby league who plays first grade in a team that have won premierships.
No name mentioned. Yeah.
I'm not mentioning names, right? That's as much as I'll mention. Yep. But he actually said because he was asked about Drew Hutchison at halfback, and he said rates him as a player, probably thinks he's a lock, but said opposition teams are picking that side, the right-hand side of attack, because Drew, and that's why they're all just rushing up, because Drew, just with his speed not there as much as the other as having a faster halfback would just show his intention with the way he would turn, and they knew. But it's funny because since Sexton's coming,
Toby's not that quick, Mick.
Huh?
Toby's not that quick.
Oh, he's got better acceleration for the line. Like Drew can break
better
tackles
acceleration than Hutcho, but he's not electric quick. You know what I mean?
He's not electric, but he's a bit faster. And I think he is a better halfback. As far as his all-round game.
That's right.
But he's just younger, and he's got the defense working now. He's got confidence. He's talking. He's communicating. But with those defenses, they've still been rushing up on the left to try and shut us down. But Toby's got the smarts to be able to pick it apart, you know.
And he's Sam Walker-like with the execution. Like, when do you see Sam Walker kick it over the dead ball line? Give me a stat on that. He doesn't do it. And now Toby's getting the 2 roll ball. So it actually, when it hit Connor's arm, it only rolled twice. Yeah. And then just bounces off its tip. Boom, up she comes, straight into Connor's hands. And he's getting it right, mate. I mean, it's a lot of practice to get that execution right. You've got to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to get that kick right, because it's under pressure when you're tired and you're tired and you're fatigued and you just made tackles, or you haven't had the ball, and all of a sudden you get in a spot you have to make that and execute that. It's very difficult. So, like, you know, Toby spent a lot of time on his game. Yeah. He's been playing halfback his whole life. He's not one of those blokes who's played this position and that position. He's played halfback. That's it. So he's a half, and he's getting in his wheelhouse now. 22, 23, starting to get that confidence, and people are believing in him too at the club.
He might end up a representative halfback, mate. He is that good, and he's got the game, but he just needed.
Have we contracted him, Mick? Is he contracted yet?
Yeah, until next year. Everyone thought he was off contract this year. He can talk to clubs from November.
November, yeah.
We'll see how much money he wants. That's going to be another conversation. So
yeah, because he'd be on jack shit at the moment.
I think he probably was on overs.
Really? From reserve grade with the Titans.
Yeah, but they went all in on him and let Fogarty go. Remember? I think they gave him.
Titans would have been paying some of that contract to get.
They wouldn't have let him go if he was on nothing to come to Canterbury. And Canterbury had money in the cap.
But do you reckon that Titans are paying some of that contract it is to get rid of him?
Oh, maybe last year they might have paid a little bit. Look, I don't think he's on $500,000, but I reckon he's not too far away from it.
I reckon 220, 250 max.
You're probably right. I have no idea, but this is just when I crunch the numbers and do the salary cap, and it's all just an exercise.
That's me. Say if you've got a kid in reserve grade and he's not playing first grade, you're not. The Bulldogs. What the Bulldogs did show last year when they did bring him down, they put him straight into first grade, and I noticed the whole team changed the moment he got there with his talk and his confidence, because he came down with confidence. He just copped that knock in the head by Cobbo and knocked the shit out of him a bit, you know. And maybe that 10 weeks out was great for him.
And all they got him to work on.
And what else? What point was I trying to make there? I just think money-wise, I think he's not on that much. I really think he's on very small amount of money for a halfback, so to speak. So he's going to be $1.5 million, 100% next contract, at least.
I think he'll be offered more than that if we go make a run this year. He'll be able to get more.
Possibly, if he keeps doing what he's doing at the moment, and playing lights out like he is, he's going to command that money. Like, if you got someone like Jaden Sullivan, you get $600,000 at the Tigers, you think Toby Sexton at the Dogs is not going to be asking for that sort of dough? Because, you know.
Yeah, so, look, Mark, you're making some points there. I'm not going to bring up your Josh Adokar ones and that. Just Josh, that he doesn't deserve to come back into the team and stuff. He will come back in, and he'll come back in underdone even. And it may cost us a game. I don't know. I doubt it, but
JAC is the moment he's fit and ready to go, he'll be in the team.
but
And
as a winger on 500 grand, you're having the conversation about, can we sustain that?
Next year, some of that JAC money will have to start going to the halfback or someone like that. To be honest, like I would say, JAC is going to have to get a downgrade to say 300, and that 200,000 has to go to Toby. Like I know Gus Gold is a very smart guy, and he'll be working that sort of shit out. But it depends on where we end up this year. Imagine if we make the semis, we go on this run, we go on this unbelievable run like you put on before we win the grand final against the Panthers. I think if people from another club were watching this podcast, they'd be going, these two blokes are the biggest fucking bullshit artists I've ever seen in my life.
No, that was last week when Mark was on with me.
The Dogs can win the comp. You guys are off your head. But
mate,
you got to.
Should we dare to dream? Should we dare to dream? I think we should.
The what do you call it? The years are lining up for it. If you're superstitious, 2024, 14 we lose.
Yeah.
2004 we won. You know?
I was explaining it to my son who walks around with his Doggies cap on, but he hardly watches a game. He's just into his gaming and that. But he always asks, "Oh, did we win?" and that, and he wished he was at the game yesterday and saw it. We went to quite a few games in COVID, and he sort of developed a taste for it. And he goes to the Doggies now. He used to give me shit about the Dogs.
Do you think JAC? Another thing, I better go soon too, Mick. But
me too.
Do you think JAC, because he's picking up these soft tissue injuries, he's like getting that age now that the Dogs would potentially think about moving him on to another club? I think hamstring injuries and calf injuries and stuff like that. That's sort of those old man injuries. Would you be thinking, because he's such a talisman for the club, isn't he? He's such a that guy that brings us together, and so loved by the supporters and his teammates. Do you think that the Dogs would go down that track or something like that, or what?
When I saw the way that when you've got in the off season, when Fox News are actually giving you credible journalism about what happened with the Corey knockout and Josh Adokar, where they're just reporting the facts as they come to hand without any opinion. And then you got Danny Weidler, actually, the way that he reported that about Josh Adokar, and there's Michelle Bishop as well, who's got a good relationship with Gus and the club. I felt that there was, like, they were sending him a message.
An agenda, or the Dogs? The Dogs were sending him a message, or the?
I think there was there's always agendas in media and stuff, and there has to be. You're running a business. It's an empire. The Bulldogs club's an empire that's owned by the membership.
It's one of Gus's.
And members will just stay. Our own members are the ones who will inevitably destabilise our club if they don't hold, like Braveheart saying, hold. We just got to hold, and strike when it's right,
Yeah.
Josh Adokar, you basically said it. It's one of those things you got to weigh up. I can't see Gus hanging on to a winger on 500. Yeah. It's Josh went out there, and we've said this many of times, he built himself up. He's still fast. He's still electric. He's still way up there in the line breaks on only like 7 games of rugby league. He had 2 half games in that, or 3 half games. So for him to be sitting there, and he was hard into the contact this year, wasn't against South, he was coming back.
He built himself up in the chest and the shoulders. He was whacking.
So he was saying, I'm all in. I want to do what Brian To'o can do.
Yep.
But also run 100 metres in 11 seconds or less.
That's right. Yep.
So, and I think that's actually helped cause some of his injuries as well.
Carrying more extra weight.
He just wasn't, his body probably just not used to, carrying that amount of weight and doing what it's always done. But, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, right? That's just my observation.
No, it's a question.
But the Gus keeper, $500,000 winger. Huh?
Oh, it was just a question I wanted to ask as a supporter. We love our club. do you think that they would go down that track? Would they look at Josh and go, look, mate,
I think they have, and they are, to be honest. But
yeah,
I have no idea.
So you think
no
they
idea.
will? Okay. You think they will? Okay, that's all right.
I think it's something they've got to be really careful about because he's so loved by the club and the children, and he's the Benji Marshall of the Bulldogs at the moment. Critter has sort of taken that over, taken on that, and we've got Burton there,
he's like a bright light, isn't he? He's like the moths. They're so attracted to him that all the kids, and not the kids as in the kids outside, the kids in the club, and like he's so beloved by his own players, and I'm just thinking, would it be a bad move? But you got to think of it as a business, as you said before. It's a business we're talking about now, and
we're winning without him.
Salary cap, and $500,000 for him is he's not earning. He's not getting that right now because he's 10 weeks out this time. Last year was his ankle. This one, that mate, it's constant these injuries, and we're not getting the value for him. You know what I mean? He does come back and we get the value, but he's not getting the value per year. Look at the value we're getting from Burton. Let's touch wood. Look, the guy has played every game he's pretty much played. He's so durable, and you're getting your value for money for Burton. Whereas JOC, you're just not getting that.
We've only won one game without Burton. Look, Mark said a point here, which we'll wrap it up with this. There's no coincidence Sexy has come in and we've lost only once, I think.
Yeah. Do you remember the old statement?
I don't agree with that, Mark. I think Josh Adokar is just who he is. He's just who he is. And I think that's not you can make those calls, but I don't agree.
I don't agree with that, Mark. I think
he's just who he is, mate. And he's someone who's been on a journey, and obviously he's learned some stuff. He didn't come, there was all this talk that he was going to go other places. Who cares? He come to Canterbury. He's a good personality. It was the beginning of things starting, of some hope. Other players have come, partly because of him as well.
Yeah.
And everybody loves him. And Critter's come and won our hearts and minds. Jacob Carraz won our hearts and minds against the Broncos 2 years ago. Jacob Preston's won our hearts and minds. Josh Curran's won our hearts and minds. Max King's won our hearts and minds. Josh Adokar won my heart and mind. And I don't care whether he's, he might end up playing for someone else. He might be injured.
You read my statement online. I know you because you thumbs up to it. I mentioned what you said at the start of the year. These guys all have to have career years. And you said that earlier on the season.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening. Blokes like Max King are playing career years. Sam Hughes has had too short a career to have a career year. But look at him yesterday. He was our main man on that field yesterday. He's our main front rower. And and he's our big guy. He's our big guy, so to speak. And look what he's taken on. He's taken on Payne Haas, Jensen, and then that Willison comes on. Never took a backward step, mate. These blokes are having career years. They are. To be where we are, it's a dream. How the hell would you have thought this would be the case at this time of the season? Not a fucking chance. No way in the world.
Exactly. I say it every week. If you could have been offered this at the start of the year, you'd take it every day of the week. So people need to not forget where we come from and be supporters. And I just think being so critical doesn't help anyone. Mark thinks Harry Hayes displaces Hughes, and Mark just looks at, I don't know what you look at, mate, but they're playing different roles in the team, mate.
He's a stats man, isn't he?
Yeah, they're playing different roles in the team. Sam Hughes is filling that big man role, and you still need big men in there. Doesn't matter what you say. He's filling that role. Josh Curran has come in and led the club because he's played way more games than Sam Hughes. I don't know too many young forwards that are Sam Hughes' age that have.
Well, Serraude said today on that list, he said, mate, honestly, these guys haven't played 20 games yet. Look at the blokes who haven't played 20 games that are playing in our club. Bailey Hayward,
Exactly.
Sam Hughes, Moran. You go through them. Harry Hayes is 3 games in. Then you look at Jacob Preston. He hasn't played 20 games yet because he's been injured a bit. Maybe 25 now, where Jacob be now in his career. So these guys haven't got long careers. They haven't got long careers at the moment. They're still finding their way. And normally when it's up to a 60, 70, 80 NRL games, when you really see a guy, he's comfortable in his own skin, whereas these blokes have fast-tracked that. They're way past that. And they're under the 20. They're under the 20 mark.
They're just doing all the right things and they're being managed the right way. And it's Serraude is the mind behind the system, and everyone's bought into it. And that's just the whole thing. And I just think it's disrespectful to continually just displace one player with another. This player's better than this player. This player's better than. I don't say they're better. I just say they're at the stage of their journey where that there's these other players in front of them. And it's not a constant
season.
And you don't just break down the door in one game or in one season, or in a handful of games. Once you break down the door, you got to keep it. Right.
That's a career.
And that's hard to do as well. And if everybody's working and hungry,
how many of these blokes have been those second-year syndrome players? You know, they've been fantastic in their first season, and then the second season they just go, look, the body might not be able to handle the attrition of it, or the mind, the training, the regime, and they're young and they're impressionable and they find other shit outside the game that they get distracted, if you know what I mean. So, you know, a career is built on how many years do they play, but these guys at the moment, these 20-game players, how they're playing at the moment, it's testament to Serraude's coaching, 100%, but it's on them too. Like, those guys have still got to go out there and perform, and they've been
they've got to fit into the system.
Unbelievable, mate. And that's not pissing in their pocket, because they wouldn't give a shit what I say. I'm only just a guy who sits there and watches on the telly or goes and supports them at the game. It's what they're doing on the field it's astounded me. I'm blown away, because I'm thinking there's no way they're going to be in this position.
All right, we're going to finish up. We're going to finish up in a second, mate. We could go on all day about it. It's been bloody brilliant. What Mark said here, sitting here, Stephen, it reminds me of Josh Curran. It's actually a really fair comparison. A guy that just works, keeps taking hit-ups, keeps tackling, keeps turning up, and is just so reliable. And I said it in the Indigenous game at the start of the year. Josh Curran played 80 minutes in that game, and they wouldn't have won the game without him. He was just everywhere, just did not stop the whole game. But I said this year he'll be used off the bench. They're going to utilise this guy's energy the way they can. A lot of people said about Max King last year, like second-year syndrome, and I said no. He had Paul Vaughan running up the hit-up before him the year before. So he was able to go in with bad intentions on the second run, and he could offload and he could do all other stuff. This year he's had to be that guy, you know what I mean? He had to be that player.
Yeah, he has to be that first guy.
And it was hard last year because he had no support. He had Tavita. Most of the forward pack were bloody doing other things, and we didn't have these workers that knew how to win, like the Salmons and the Kurt Manns and all the people that come to the club. We didn't have them last year. We've got them this year, right? Jacob Preston's not having second-year syndrome. I think Mark said that Presto didn't play that well the week before against when he made his comeback, and I'm like, his job's to tackle.
He's been out for a little while. Like you know, he's had jaw and like those injuries. They're a bit nasty. That takes a bit of your confidence. You know what I mean?
Like, he is an absolute. He will be an elite player for a long time. I can see Curran and Preston.
I had a massive argument underground. I had a massive argument with these guys on the ground when they said, when we were talking about Curran being better than that Canberra bloke, Young. They're going, these guys, I had a stand-up argument with these two blokes. Are you serious? You reckon, you really think Young is a better player than Jacob Preston? You're off your head. Seriously. And they go, well, he can kick, he can do this. I said, mate, there's no way in the world that they're where they are at the moment, in my opinion, it's all an opinion, it's like an asshole, that that Young down there at Canberra is better than Jacob Preston. Not a chance in the world. And he's made Origin, and Preston is on the cusp. So I'm thinking to myself,
if you brought Young into Canterbury last year, wouldn't have made a difference to us.
Rubbish. It would have been nothing. Yeah.
I think he's a good player and he plays with a lot of passion and a lot of effort. But he's not. Jacob Preston's a whole new beast.
He's not.
He'll play Origin. Preston will play Origin. Curran could have been picked this year based on the criteria, as could have Jacob Carraz.
Yeah.
They could have all been picked for New South Wales this year based on the criteria.
There'll be more Dogs players playing at that level in the next couple of years. 25, 26, you'll see a lot more Dogs will be going through Origin like we did back in the day when we used to have a lot of representation. We'll have a lot of players more playing Origin because at the time, if Madge stays the course and stays in, the players that the Dogs have got are the type of players he wants. He wants that blueprint type player. He wants that guy who'll fucking shit through his ribs for you. He just will work hard and just do everything he can to win. And that's what Madge, he doesn't want prima donnas. Madge doesn't want a prima donna. He doesn't want any of them. He pissed all them off. Yeah. And I think Freddie with the feet on the grass and all that shit, he said, mate, he's cut that crap out. Let's do old school, hard-nosed footy, and that's the type of player I want. That's why he went with Robson over Coruscant.
Yeah. Well, Mark just said Harry Hayes will fill out, mate, but he's going to have to, and he will. But there's a difference between coming off the bench in your second game and holding up the middle. And like Pete, you know what I'm talking about, mate. You can't explain to people who haven't played or haven't played enough.
Put it this way. The player that I was when I was 28 and the player that I was when I made my debut in country footy in a hard comp when I was 19, the difference in that 9 years is just there's poles apart. Yeah. It's just incredible, the difference. When I got to the back end, 28, 29, 30, I was done. But the difference in the smarts, how I was getting around the field and stuff like that, you can't put a price on that experience.
But in saying all that, I 100% agree, mate. And look, Mark, I agree, Harry. When I listened to Harry Hayes' interview and I watched him talking last year as well about his grandfather, and there was an article and stuff, like I literally got goosebumps. And then I went and watched him play.
Yeah, me too.
And I made a comment on the kennel guy. I said someone was going on about Harry Hayes, and he basically hosed it down. And I said Harry Hayes was phenomenal in his debut. Phenomenal.
I don't watch the kennel anymore. I just don't think he analyses the game.
And he responded back going, it was a good debut, but it wasn't phenomenal. And I'm like, you don't know what phenomenal is.
What are you asking for, mate?
It's like they're stuck in Hollywood moments when it comes to rugby league. You've got to be it's all about the tries you score, how much you win by, or they don't understand that Harry Hayes, every run that he had, he poked through the line and landed on his belly and got away a quick play the ball. He ran beside players of the footy, and every time he went in to tackle, he tried to fucking tackle him as hard as he could, every single time. I thought Lipboy Hotboy did a good job. The fact that there was no mistakes, no errors.
He hasn't made a mistake. He hasn't made a mistake in the NRL yet, has he, Mick?
Yeah, but he hasn't. But Harry Hayes went out there and
he gave
tried to win points the game. So to me, he's put himself in front.
Yeah.
But Lipboy's got some heart, man. Like he played that first game in New South Wales Cup. They put him on an edge. He got destroyed.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. Then they dropped him back to Ron Massey. Then they brought him back a week later back to New South Wales Cup, and he ran like 300 metres. and they're all through effort, right?
Yeah.
Like he's got something in him as well, which is good for our club to have young kids that want to, if they have a bad performance, they want to make up for it.
Yeah.
And even Katoni Katonga or Gideoni or whatever, he made that mistake with that non-tackle on Sean Bloor.
Yeah.
Went back to Sydney and played New South Wales Cup the next day and destroyed Western Suburbs, like ran through them like they didn't exist. But as I say, there's these players who love doing stuff with the ball. They got to love doing it without the ball, and that's the difference in the Bulldogs this year.
Yeah, Willie Mason and the boys on levels talk about those all the time. That is the classic thing they talk about the most is what you do off the ball. And now because the coaches have got this new eye, that's why Fafita didn't get picked in Origin, because that big sky thing, that big camera that's on those strings up there, that takes a different perspective of the game. And those guys who walk, and if Fafita's a walker, so Slater's gone, I'm not going to carry a walker on the field. That's it, done. There's no walkers. I'm not going to have someone who does something great for like one set and scores this unbelievable try, but then the next set you see him walking around and he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So now you got Bulldogs all pulling in the same direction. I think Serrato would have that technology to see who's walking and who's not. And to be honest with you, if you're that type of player, he won't be in his system. That's
basically,
he cleaned them out last year. He fucked them all.
You're walking, you just keep walking out the door,
Yeah.
And Mark made many comments about Burton walking and stuff as well. I'm just like, yeah, there was some moments, but it's a lot different this year.
Mark, does Mark live in Sydney or does he live in Brisbane?
He lives up here. He's
okay.
Good champion.
Well,
anyway,
mate, if I can get the Magic round, that's my plan for next year. I'd love to catch up with you if I can.
Yeah, we will. We've got to make something happen for Magic Round next year. You don't come stay at my place.
I think I'm coming up there with my lodge, all the brothers, all the boys. I think there's probably a few of us. So, but I want to see if I can catch up with you. And now that I know Mark's up there, I'd love to catch up with you guys over beer. And that'd be talk some shit. It'd be good.
Oh,
so
mate.
Hopefully next year, mate. That's what I'm shooting for Magic Round. I haven't been, and I really want to go.
Yeah, it's a good time. I think they could make it a lot better too. I think Brisbane could just become Magic Round. Yeah. They should do a Magic Festival and fucking just do everything that week. Make it huge. Just go bigger and better with it. I think they should. Because it's a good commercial opportunity. It's not just make it just about rugby league. It could be something even better.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I think they should play. I think they should have. They should use Seabus Stadium as well. Play at 2 grounds and that's what I think they should do. Maybe have the girls and bring up the reserve grade sides as well and have the WNRL playing at the Gold Coast or something at the same time.
Yeah.
Just have the whole fucking thing going,
Yeah.
Because you could sit there and make it so that your teams don't play the same day. So you could go watch the bloody reserve grade at the Gold Coast or something as part of your buy an all-in ticket and go and support and we'll have a women's team next year as well. So go watch the women in reserve grade on the Saturday, but the Bulldogs play on the Friday up at Brisbane. They do something like that.
Well, that's on them to come up with those ideas. I'm sure they've probably passed around the table to try and come up with make it bigger and better. But I've never been, and I've just heard so many good stories about it. I definitely want to come next year. So if I can.
We own Caxton Street on the weekend. I saw footage of that too, Mark. That was fucking brilliant.
We own Caxton Street on the weekend. Mate, I got to sign off.
That was Mark with the dog chain around his neck. That was him, mate.
Hey.
What was it? Bulldogs. What was the bloody chant?
We are dynamite, I think. Like we are I can't remember now. I've got it here on my phone. It's so funny.
I think I got it on the. I put it on the group. We are fucking dynamite. Here we go.
Can you get that up?
Just wait a second.
We are blue. We are white. We are.
Let's watch this.
We are blue. We are white. We are fucking dynamite. We are blue. We are white. We are
You've got to find him, Mick. You've got to find that guy.
That's Mark there, Pete.
We are blue.
In the background.
We are fucking dynamite. We are blue. We are white.
Oh, I love it. Look at this. I'll just keep watching.
We are the Bulldogs. We are the Bulldogs. Mighty, mighty Bulldogs. The mighty, mighty Bulldogs.
Oh, how good is it, eh? How good is it?
We've taken over Suncorp.
We are the Bulldogs. We are the Bulldogs. Mighty, mighty Bulldogs.
Mate, I've got to sign off, Mick. I've got to go.
Me too, mate. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks
a lot
that
was
for
me.
anyone who's stayed the course tonight. Appreciate it. And everyone who's out there who's not signed on and subscribed to this channel, get on and subscribe to Mick's channel. It's the best Bulldog supporters page that we got. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this thing gets bigger and better. So tell all your friends. Tell all your friends, tell everybody that you know, because it doesn't take much to press that button to subscribe. All right.
Thanks for saying that, mate. You know I don't say it very often, but
Oh no, you don't. You don't do that. So I'm going to do it for you.
we will have a special guest on. Hopefully, it's in the works.
I'm
Just
going
got to get it all sorted out.
I'm going to try and ring Jimmy Smith. I'm going to give him a ring because I've got his. And try and see if I can get in touch with Taylor. If I can get in touch with JT and get him on this pod, I'd love to see him here and just see, like, not ask anything in depth, just find out, like, what he thinks about the whole process of him coming to the club, stuff like that. If we can do that, would be great.
That'd be bloody brilliant. We'll see how we go, mate.
I'll do my best.
We can table him some questions that we'd like to ask and stick within those boundaries. But thanks for everyone for staying on 3 hours. We just take it to new levels all the time. Probably a bit too long, but a lot of passion coming out of our mouth, mate. So I'm sorry to everyone and sorry to your family taking you away for so long. I've got to go and say sorry to my family now.
Yeah, me too. I cooked a baked dinner and it's been sitting there waiting for me 3 hours.
Oh, no. You should have just bloody ate it while I was talking, mate. That would have been.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But I've enjoyed myself that much. I don't know. I just love talking footy, mate. I love this club. I love this club. I love passionate supporters like that guy who we just showed on the screen. And honestly, this podcast starting last year and just seeing the evolution of our club, of how hard we've done it for like 5 or 6 years, it's been a really hard road to hoe for us. So, and when we see green shoots coming through and the juniors coming through if I'd going to ask you to get one question, how the process was getting Gus. That's what I'd like to know. How did Curry and those guys were able to sign Gus? He's changed everything around. That's one thing when you do get in touch with him, hopefully you can ask that question. But just seeing how
I actually know the answer to that, but I will that will be explained in a few weeks, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, mate.
That whole process. And one thing I'll say about Gus Gold, he does have a love for Canterbury, and he's probably always going to come back to us at some point. And this is exactly where he wants to be. Exactly where he wants to be.
Yeah, you
don't see him leaving anytime soon.
Last thing, no, I don't think he's going to go.
Unless he got sick or something like that. But no, I think there's until the fortifications are foolproof, until you see some of those youngsters come through, and then I think, and I know we're seeing a few, but we haven't seen nothing yet. Is the point?
Yeah.
When that all comes into fruition, playing under this style, playing under this system, we're gonna every year we're gonna fall in love with players, and we're gonna watch them leave.
Yeah.
But it's all happening, and we'll leave it at that, guys. Thanks for that, mate.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers. Take care, everyone.
Cheers,
3 hours.
Yeah, the Dogs, we are blue, we are white, we are fucking dynamite.
Fuck yeah.
See you, mate.
See you, guys. Thanks, mate. See you, Pete.
See you, Mick.